Chapter 38. Patriarch. The elders and the elites of the sect roared. One by one, regardless of anything else, they all rushed over. At this time, the blood swords that were pierced into Tai Zhongmen's body flew out and surrounded the iron-masked man. Tens of thousands of blood swords danced in the air. The scene was incomparably gorgeous. They were like the most loyal guards, not allowing anyone to come close. So sinister. 11th Elder, you have been used by this person. Bai Yan Shan exclaimed. I have been used by him? Xiao Jingming was shocked. From the very beginning, this person has included you in his plan. Do you remember that when you took out your sword, these blood swords flew towards you? In fact, it was not because you were about to attack. Even if you did not participate in the battle, they would force you to participate. These blood swords were all controlled by that person. He used the blood swords to bring you closer to Tai Zhongmen. He used you to launch a sneak attack and kill Tai Zhongmen. Bai Yan Shan said. Xiao Jingming froze for a moment, then his face suddenly changed. He seemed to understand. My sword cover can produce an amazing sword aura. This person used my sword aura as a cover to hide the aura of his blood swords. Then, he used a fierce and intensive attack to force me towards Tai Zhongmen. Then, he launched a powerful attack on Tai Zhongmen, attracting his attention, and then launched a sneak attack. Yes, if he attacked head-on, Tai Zhongmen would retreat and let the elites of the Guju Xian sect help. If that was the case, how could this person succeed? That's why he had such a plan. Such a ruthless person. This person did not give the people of the Guju Xian sect a chance. Who the hell is he? Xiao Jingming asked with a pale face. No matter who he is, we must avenge Tai Zhongmen. We must capture this person. Yuan Zhen Shan angrily shouted. Kill! All the people of the Guju Xian sect were angry. But at this moment, a snow-white rainbow pierced through the sky, rushing straight towards them. Fellow cultivators of the Guju Xian sect, do not panic. Wait for me to behead this person. As the voice fell, a sharp sword aura pierced through the sky, directly towards the escaping iron-masked man. It's Elder Long. A joyful voice emerged. The male disciples of the Immortal Sword sect all stood on their tiptoes and looked into the sky, their eyes following the rainbow. The female disciples also revealed looks of worship in their eyes. In the sky, a fairy-like figure stepped on a pure white flying sword and charged straight at the black-clothed, iron-faced man with a bloody sword. The men could not move their eyes away, and the women were jealous and envious. How could such a beautiful person be born in this world? Even Xiao Jingming was stunned for a while, until he realized that Bai Yan Shan was at the side. He quietly retracted his gaze and looked at Bai Yan Shan, but Bai Yan Shan did not notice him. The fairy-like figure let out a delicate cry, and her sword will rush towards that person like a huge wave. Limitless. Surrender. Otherwise, don't blame me for killing you. Limitless Sword God? Iron-masked man. Su Yun was stunned for a moment before he came to his senses. When he was in Crescent Valley, he lied to the disciples of the Immortal Sword sect that he was Limitless Sword God. He never thought that this person would actually think that it was his own name. But how did she find her way here? Did she follow the aura of the heavenly crystal? But wasn't the aura of the heavenly crystal filled with the demonic blood array? Limitless Sword God? So he is Limitless Sword God. After Bai Yan Shan heard this, her eyebrows immediately congealed. The person who used my Immortal Sword sect to steal the heavenly crystal? Xiao Jingming quickly asked. Most likely, it should be him. So, he must have the heavenly crystal. I don't know. But looking at the aura he exudes, it is really terrifying. It makes people tremble, especially those blood swords. Is this the power of the heavenly crystal? Bai Yan Shan calmly looked at the sky, her eyes revealing a trace of passion. Limitless Sword God, although I don't know who you are, I must defeat you. I want to be stronger than you. The young girl clenched her fists and whispered. The fairy flew over, but this time, Su Yun did not choose to escape. He stepped on the blood-red flying sword and stood in the air. All the blood swords gathered around him, dense and terrifying. Such a strong smell of blood. Are you from the demon continent? The fairy bellowed, and the white sword spun from her feet to her hands. Following that, the sword intent exploded, releasing a beam of sword chi that shot towards Su Yun. So. The moment the chi rushed over, the blood swords rotated and arranged themselves layer by layer to form a sword shield, blocking the chi. The fairy's eyebrows wrinkled, but the chi disappeared. She rushed over and grasped the white sword in her delicate hand. Thousands of sword shadows surged out. The sword shadows were like the mouth of a beast, swallowing Su Yun. However, under the iron mask, the blood-red eyes did not show the slightest panic. Instead, she quickly retreated. Her left hand formed a sword seal and immediately waved. A large amount of terrifying spirit aura splashed out from her fingertips. They were like spirits, wrapping around the flying blood swords. The cage was incomparably tight, and not a single drop of water could leak out. Then, all the blood swords began to move and turned into a burst of sword shadows. It was like countless beasts' bloody mouth, swallowing the fairy. This person doesn't have any techniques, but he can imitate others' techniques. Xiao Jingming said. The spirit aura is strong enough. Techniques are not important. The fairy quickly retreated, but the blood swords covered a large area. There was no place to hide. In this crisis, the fairy had no choice but to use her own life-saving treasure, the divine thunder order. Boom! The sky suddenly turned black. 5 bolts of lightning shot down and surrounded the fairy, forming a lightning cage. The blood swords exploded and were immediately eroded by the lightning. Su Yun's body trembled. With a bang, the iron mask was broken in half. Huh! Bai Yen Shan, who was carefully watching the battle, saw the exposed half of the face. Her heart slightly rippled. This person. Why does he look so familiar? Where have I seen him before? Seen him before? Xiao Jingming smiled and said, I think that half of his face is ordinary, so he must be ordinary. Ordinary people can be found everywhere. Bai Yen Shan did not say anything. In the air, the iron-masked man saw that he could not kill the fairy. He immediately put away the blood sword and turned to leave. Don't go! The fairy shouted. The sword tip spun and the sword chi danced towards the iron-masked man. However, the man did not dodge. He flew away while controlling the blood swords to block the attack. After eating the fairy's sword chi, the blood swords began to crack. They were shaking and the spirit aura on the surface was very weak. Why did he not continue to loosen the spirit aura on the blood swords? The fairy's heart was filled with doubts. Could it be that the heavenly crystal was exhausted and was about to return to its original form? Very likely. Thinking of this, the fairy no longer held back. She madly released the sword chi towards the iron-masked man. The sharp and thick sword chi was like raindrops hitting the iron-masked man. Nearly 1,000 blood swords gathered and blocked the sword chi. A large number of sparks and blood splattered. However, these blood swords were gradually broken. The spirit aura on their surface was almost completely gone. The person controlling them no longer channeled spirit aura. It was as if they were left to fend for themselves. It seems that the heavenly crystal's effect is finally here. Good. Since that is the case, I will not be polite. I will kill you and take the heavenly crystal. The fairy's eyes were filled with killing intent. She turned the sword in her hand. The void shook and the wind roared. Countless trees and sand on the ground were blown away. His sword intent burst forth like a majestic flame, blazing out. The sword chi covered the sky. It was like a majestic mountain. In front of it, a person was as small as a grain of sand. This sword strike was truly capable of crushing a person into powder and obliterating their soul and Tao. But in less than a breath's time, The iron-masked man's body suddenly overflowed with a terrifying demonic chi. This chi was mature and overbearing. It was as if it had been enduring for a long time. It was violent and angry. It longed to explode. It longed to kill. It longed to destroy. It longed to be silent. The chi was as cold as a cold blade. Demonic chi? The fairy's body quickly stopped. Her face changed. Not good. This person has been accumulating power. He is waiting for me to get close. He is really cunning and despicable. She quickly retreated. She opened up a distance between them. The iron-masked man suddenly turned around. The slender engraved dragon blade had unknowingly turned into a dark red color. The sword's body burst out to a length of several feet. With a crushing force, it slashed towards the fairy. The sword covered the sky. Compared to the fairy's stunning attack, this sword was even more terrifying and shocking. Chapter 39. The huge blood-red sword cleaved down. The flood dragon mark on the sword seemed to come alive. Under the influence of the blood chi, it was like a huge flood dragon in a sea of blood. Cold, cruel, killing. Countless negative factors pervaded the heart of the immortal, eroding her mind, making her very sad. Why is this person using the heavenly crystal this powerful? The immortal's face paled as she hastily retreated. No, even if she could block this attack, she would still be injured. She could only temporarily retreat. The immortal did not dare to take the attack head-on. She activated her mystical technique, and in a second, she was already 10,000 meters away. But this huge blood sword cleaved horizontally. Rumble. A violent sound came out, the earth shook, as if it was the end of the world. The blood sword cut through 3 of the Gu mountain peaks before stopping. The entire Gu mountain peak was completely flattened. After this attack, the iron-masked man jumped back, pushed his speed to the limit, and turned to leave. The blood sword dissipated, and the smell of blood in the air began to gradually subside. The immortal looked up, only to see that the iron-masked man had disappeared without a trace. So ruthless. He actually risked the danger of being beheaded by me to use such a powerful move. Looking at him, even if he could not kill me, he still wanted to force me to retreat. The immortal had a lingering fear in her heart. After a while, she stepped on the white sword and descended. With such a tyrannical attack, even the people from the Gu Xie Xin sect did not dare to approach. They could only watch helplessly as the iron-masked man left. The chaotic sect gradually restored some order. People gathered together, and the immortal sword sect disciples formed a formation to welcome the descending iron-masked man. The man landed. "Greetings, Elder Long." The immortal sword sect disciples hurriedly and respectfully saluted. "Elder Long, why did you personally come?" Xiao Jingming also saluted, and said with a smile. His eyes were staring at the immortal, and it was difficult for him to look away. If not for the fact that Bai Yen Shan was by his side, he would not even bat an eyelid. I tracked the person who stole the heavenly crystal, and immediately rushed over. I did not expect that this time, he would still escape. Elder Long said lightly, but the unwillingness in his eyes was difficult to conceal. "This man has stolen my immortal sword sect's treasures time and time again. We definitely cannot let him go." Xiao Jingming put on a fierce expression. "I will go back and immediately report to the sect leader, and ask him to issue a notice to arrest this person." More than once? Elder Long frowned. What else did he take? Everlasting stone. Not waiting for Xiao Jingming to open his mouth, Bai Yen Shan, who was at the side, softly said, "Everlasting stone? Could it be? He killed Tai Wen Xian for the everlasting stone." Elder Long fell silent upon hearing that. This person's profound spirit chi is violent and bloody. It seems like he is from the demonic continent. "Elder, we cannot be careless." Elder Long nodded and said indifferently, "Elder Xiao." "Elder Long, what instructions do you have?" Xiao Jingming quickly cupped his fists and said, Immediately return to the sect and report this matter to the sect leader. Let him send the elites of the sect to search this Julian area. If there are any demons or demons, kill them immediately. Do not let them off lightly. Yes, Elder Long. Yen Shan. Elder Yen Shan is here. By Yen Shan bowed. You are the beloved disciple of the great elder. This time, such an accident happened, but you are still safe. You are really lucky. You lead the disciples here to comfort the people of the Gu Xie Xian school, and then return to the sect. Elder Long, what about you? Me? Elder Long said indifferently, I will continue to pursue the limitless sword god. Pursue? Bai Yen Shan bit her lower lip and immediately muttered, the limitless sword god is very cunning. After obtaining the everlasting stone, I am afraid he is already hiding. Elder, how can you track him? Elder Long gently waved her soft and beautiful hand, and a bright and clear round mirror appeared and floated in front of her. The disciples' eyes were immediately attracted by it. I have learned the 10,000 miles tracking technique, which can easily track any existence in the world. But I have already used it once. If I continue to use it, I can only mark an approximate location. Even so, it is enough. If I do not capture the limitless sword god, and take back the everlasting stone and the heavenly crystal, I will not rest. You all go back first and wait for my news. After Elder Long finished, she waved her hand, and the round mirror disappeared. After Bai Yen Shan heard this, she did not speak. However, Elder Long seemed to have discovered something. Her eyes fell on the back of the crowd, and she immediately rushed over. Everyone hurriedly looked over. They saw Elder Long bend down and pick up a few pieces of iron from the ground. It was the broken iron mask on the man's face. Elder Long stared at the iron mask, and her eyes flashed a trace of determination. Bang! A figure staggered and fell to the ground. Then he violently gasped for breath. After a while, the figure that fell to the ground struggled to get up. Careless! Too careless! Su Yun gasped for breath. Brat, are you okay? The sword elder seemed to feel that the evil aura around Su Yun's body had dissipated. He immediately came out and anxiously asked. I am fine for the time being. Su Yun weakly smiled and said, I never thought that the demonic blood array and the heavenly crystal would have such an amazing effect. My sword intent is still very weak, and I am unable to use it. But under the effect of the heavenly crystal, my sword intent sword, almost reaching the spirit soul disciple realm. Impossible! After Su Yun's words fell, the sword elder immediately shouted, You are only at the peak of the 8th stage of the spirit novice disciple realm. How can you reach such a high cultivation level with the heavenly crystal? Senior, you are wrong. Su Yun shook his head. If I were to use it normally, I would definitely not be able to reach the spirit soul disciple realm. I am afraid that even the immortal sword sex elder would not be able to fight. But with the demonic blood array, it is different. This array is constructed with extremely rare materials. On top of it, I have imprinted a small demonic world. It can play a role of infection, so that everything has a fundamental change. Infection effect? The sword elder obviously did not understand and quickly asked, What do you mean? It is to infect my strength with magic. Magic! Yes, magic. The demonic blood array is able to quickly transform the profound spirit chi that I obtained from the heavenly crystal into a higher level of demonic chi. Demonic chi is a variant of profound spirit chi. It is exclusive to the demon continent's demonic sect. Demonic chi can completely release all of a person's power, including their potential. It can also release all of the power of a magic treasure. Although my cultivation level is not high, but with the help of the demonic blood array, I completely broke out the power of the heavenly crystal and my own strength. Therefore, I can use the first sword of the limitless sword arts, the secular sword, to create thousands of blood swords to fight. But for this sword, I am still not proficient enough to display its power. I am ashamed. Su Yun weakly said as he walked forward. The Sword Elder was stunned. His voice was full of surprise. How do you know the Demon Continent's demonic sect so well? I read a book. What book? Sky Martial Continent Chronicles. Get lost. Sky Martial Continent Chronicles can be made into the Demon Continent? Do you think this old man is an idiot? Chapter 40. Su Yun had the memories of his past life, but he did not know how to tell the Sword Elder. However, Sword Elder Yi did not continue to ask, and instead said, Brat, the Devil Path's profound skills are usually used to injure the enemy by 1,000, but this array is so powerful. Could it be that it doesn't affect you at all? Of course it does. Su Yun said, after using this array for the next 10 days, I will not be able to activate my profound spirit chi, and I will not be able to cultivate. This array can be said to be a desperate array, because once the effect of the array ends, the profound spirit chi in my body will be like a stone sinking into the sea, and it will be difficult to find a trace of it, and I will become an ordinary person. In the demonic continent, this array is extremely famous. If you use this array, most of your opponents will not fight with you. When the effect of the array ends, you will become an ordinary person, and they will come out to kill you. The reason why I dared to use this formation is because the people of the Sky Martial Continent are not familiar with this formation. Otherwise, we just need to drag it out until the effect of the formation ends, and then we can decide the victor in one strike. But for a spirit novice disciple to have such an understanding of the demon continent, it's really scary. The Sword Elder muttered. Su Yun smiled and did not say anything. He took the jade-colored divine pendant from his neck and comforted her. With the everlasting stone, why can't I be an ordinary person for 10 days? This item can increase my talent and speed up my cultivation. It's not difficult to leap 1,000 miles in one go. OXN. The Sword Elder murmured a few times, then he took a deep breath. Boy, you have given me too many surprises. You are obviously only a spirit novice disciple, but you killed the head of the Guxia Xian school, and even fought with the elder of the Immortal Sword sect. Obviously, you are not even worthy of carrying their shoes, but they can't do anything about it, can they? Su Yun laughed and said, In fact, all of this is due to the heavenly crystal. Without the heavenly crystal, I am nothing. Everyone says that this is a treasure. The Sword Elder could not deny it. He then asked, What do you plan to do next? Since I will not be able to cultivate for the next 10 days, I naturally have to organize some things and prepare to go into closed-door training. With the help of the Everlasting Stone, I intend to break through to the 9th stage of the Spirit Novice realm. It's not difficult for you, the Sword Elder said. After thinking for a while, he asked, Little brat Su Yun, which path do you plan to cultivate your profound spirit chi in the future? Qi-Yang Aura? Or was it the frigid water spirit? Or is it an incomparably strong true divine spirit chi? The Scarlet Star Chi was of the fire attribute, the frigid water Chi was of the water attribute, the true divine spirit Chi was of the earth attribute, and the devilish Chi was of the demonic cultivator's cultivation. Swift wind spirit Chi was exclusive to sword wielders. Profound spirit Chi had a myriad of attributes, and were all different. People who use swords naturally cultivate their own profound spirit Chi towards the swift wind spirit Chi. Swift wind Chi? The Sword Elder could not help but shake his head. That is a very ordinary sword cultivator Chi. Almost all sword users will develop their profound spirit Chi in this direction. Although it is indeed very suitable for sword users, in my Limitless Sword sect, there is an even more noble sword cultivator Chi. Are you interested? Hearing that, Su Yun's eyes lit up and immediately said, Senior, please teach me. Ha 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 ha, I knew you wanted to learn it. You have an obsession in your heart, and your desire for power is not weak. Otherwise, you wouldn't have risked your lifetime and again to obtain these items. Good. If you want to learn, I will teach you. The limitless sword arts has been passed down to you, and I will not be stingy with this qi. If you can endure the hardships and learn this qi, I believe that you will be able to use the first sword of the limitless sword arts. Su Yun was overjoyed. But before that, you have to collect some materials to cleanse your meridians. This qi is too special and extremely sharp. Ordinary meridians will not be able to circulate it. If you do not cleanse your meridians and directly cultivate it, the profound spirit qi will pierce through your meridians, and your whole body will explode and you will die. Senior, please tell me what you need. Some things can be bought, but the price is very expensive. Others are not easy to buy, but they should be circulating in the market. If you spend some time, you should be able to collect them. But before that, you have to prepare a large sum of money. Money! Su Yun heard that and shook his head. You don't have it? No, I mean this is not a problem. The qi that he cultivated was unique to the Limitless Sword sect. It was called Pure Divine Spirit Qi. But to cultivate this qi, he must cleanse his meridians. Su Yun listed out the list of materials needed to cleanse his meridians. After a rough calculation, he estimated that it would cost at least 200,000 spirit coins. Other than robbing money, he was afraid that no one else would be able to get so many spirit coins. After using the demonic blood array, Su Yun would be no different from a commoner for the next 10 days. He would not have the slightest bit of profound spirit qi. How could he rob 200,000 spirit coins? He still had more than 1,000 spirit coins on him. If he bought some materials and used the spring crystal furnace to refine some pills that were not circulating in the market, he could earn some money, but this was not a long-term solution. Currently, the spirit cultivators were very powerful. Even if it was not a powerful pill, they could quickly decipher the composition of the ingredients and the time needed to refine the pill. They could even deduce the temperature of the fire. Therefore, if they were to refine a pill, it would be very easy for them to imitate it. At the beginning, they could earn some money, but later on, it would not be easy. After thinking about it, there was only one way. Su Yun lowered his eyebrows and pondered for a moment. Then, he walked towards the west. Blossom Heart Valley was famous in the Julian district and Great Cyan district. It was located 300 miles west of the Broken Rush City. It was located in the middle of the two districts. Here, birds were singing and the flowers were fragrant. The mountains were verdant and the water was clear. It was a place of outstanding people. Blossom Heart Valley practiced medicine and was compassionate. It was famous throughout the Sky Martial continent. The disciples of Blossom Heart Valley were all disciples of the sect. They were good at using silver needles and herbs. They could relieve people's pain and even bring the dead back to life. Many poor people or people who were terminally ill would go to Blossom Heart Valley to seek medical help. They could all be cured. Blossom Heart Valley was not weaker than the Immortal Sword sect. However, it did not have the arrogance of the Immortal Sword sect. Anyone could enter Blossom Heart Valley to seek medical help. They did not care about their background. They did not care about their status. From the nobles to the commoners, they all had a compassionate heart. Because of this, although Blossom Heart Valley's strength was lower than the Immortal Sword sect's, its influence was not something the Immortal Sword sect could compare to. Su Yun arrived at the Broken Rush City. He put the broken mask into his storage ring. He changed his black Blademaster clothes and put on a gray robe. Then, he went into the city to search. Because of the Blossom Heart Valley, the Broken Rush City's goods were mostly medicinal herbs. There were also many medicinal pills. On both sides of the street, there were rows of medicinal pill shops. Many houses had chimneys that emitted green smoke. Most of them were alchemy rooms. Su Yun came to the center of the market. He found a very ordinary medicinal herb shop and walked in. At this moment, not far from the horizon of the Broken Rush City, a white rainbow came over. When they were close to Broken Break City, the white rainbow stopped, only to see the extremely beautiful and graceful clan elder Long Xianli, lightly stepping on the white rainbow flying sword, the pure white gauze covering her body swaying in the wind. She took out the round mirror and glanced at the dot. She saw that the dot was huge. It covered the Julian district and the Great Xian district. Is Limitless Sword God here? Long Xianli wrinkled her eyebrows and whispered. After thinking for a moment, she rode her sword and descended into the Broken Rush City. Chapter 41. As she neared the city, she took out a veil and hung it on her face. No matter where she went, she would attract the gazes of countless people and pull the souls of countless people. She did not like men who stared at her as if they had lost their souls. Every time she went to a crowded place, she would cover her face with a veil. But even so, the effect was not good. She was slender and elegant, with a veil covering her body. Any movement was enough to give people a sense of beauty. Especially the bright eyes on the veil, it had the effect of scattering souls. When he entered the city and walked on the streets, he could hear gasps and exclamations coming from both sides. Many men stood dumbfounded on the spot and stared blankly at this person. With the veil covering her face, that faintly discernible face coupled with her beautiful and graceful figure, made it hard for people to keep their minds. Long Xianli coldly snorted, and a wave of qi rippled out. The people on both sides were shaken awake by the qi. They felt as if they were walking on thin ice. Feeling the strong power contained in the qi, they all trembled and hurriedly looked away. This woman was not to be trifled with. Everyone immediately understood. The shock was only temporary. After a while, the bold people looked over again. Long Xianli frowned and quickened her pace. But Broken Walk City was so big, how could she find Limitless in the sea of people? What's more, Limitless was wearing a mask. How could she know who was Limitless? After searching for 2 streets, Long Xianli still could not find anything. In the end, she could only wander around and wait. After a few more days, her strength would recover, and the 10,000 miles tracking technique could be used again. At that time, she would be able to clearly lock onto Limitless' position. At that time, no matter how good his disguise was, she could use this divine technique to pull him out from the crowd. What she needed to do now was to prevent him from leaving. Long Xianli took out the round mirror and glanced at it. It was still there. Limitless. This time, I won't let you leave again, she whispered. After a while, she took out a bottle of good quality pills from her storage ring and prepared to swallow them. Using the pills to quickly recover her strength, she would be able to use the divine technique again in a short period of time. But just as she was about to take the pills, she stopped. Although these pills are rare divine pills of the Immortal Sword sect, it is said that the 9-leaf grass produced in Blossom Heart Valley can help the absorption of the pills, allowing people to better absorb the effects of the pills. 9-leaf grass? Let's buy one and see how it works. After thinking about it, Long Xianli temporarily put away her divine pellets and walked towards the most bustling medicinal herb trading center in Broken Rush City. High-quality red-leaf spider silk. I'm selling it cheaply. Ice toad eggs, 8,000 spirit coins for one. Don't miss this chance. The rootless snow jade pill that just came out of the pot. Are there any cultivators who are interested? Inside and outside the trading center, there were shouts everywhere. All kinds of rare and precious materials and pills were being sold here. Broken Rush City had a special force to maintain order. Furthermore, Blossom Heart Valley was just beside it, so no one dared to act recklessly here. Therefore, there was no need to worry about people stealing their treasures in Broken Rush City. 9-leaf grass. The 9-leaf grass that had just been plucked and refined. There's only one in the entire Broken Rush City. Come and take a look. At this moment, a loud and clear shout came from the entrance of the trading center. 9-leaf grass? This was a good thing. Many people gathered around to take a look. However, when they saw that the seller had marked the price as high as 100,000 spirit coins, many people shook their heads and left. When the grass seller saw this, he could not help but shake his head. He could only shout even harder. This 9-leaf grass, I want it! Right at this moment, a clear and cold shout resounded. The grass seller was overjoyed and quickly turned his head to look. He saw a beautiful woman dressed in white with a thin veil covering her face. Her face was blurry and her figure was graceful and alluring. What a beautiful woman! The grass seller was lost in thought for a while. He could not help but sigh in his heart. Hee, young lady, you really have a good eye. This 9-leaf grass was just discovered by me. Moreover, it was quickly refined and sent here. You really came at the right time. As the grass seller spoke, he picked up the 9-leaf grass from the small altar in front of him and shook it a few times in front of the woman. However, the woman was expressionless and coldly said, "No need to say more. How much is it?" Did I meet a rich man?" The grass seller was overjoyed. He rolled his eyes and slapped his thigh. 120,000 spirit coins. Good deal. The woman's eyes were like autumn water. She did not even blink and directly said. When the grass seller heard this, he was so happy that he almost could not stand. He quickly nodded and said, Good, young lady, do we have a deal?" And the woman nodded. You wait a moment," the grass seller said with a snicker. "Please hurry." The woman's voice was still calm. Really ignorant. At this time, a light sigh came from the side. The woman slightly frowned and looked to the side. She saw a man wearing a yellow robe glancing at them. He shook his head and walked forward. "Stop!" the woman shouted. Her figure flashed and stopped in front of the man. The man was slightly surprised. "What?" the woman coldly asked. "Who are you saying is ignorant?" Su Yun slightly twisted his eyebrows. He slightly looked at the person in front of him and then lightly said, You. The woman was flustered. Her eyes flashed a trace of anger. But seeing that there were so many people around, she could not afford to lose her temper. She took a deep breath and said, "Why am I ignorant?" Su Yun heard this and turned around. He pointed to the 9-leaf grass in the grass seller's hand and said, "This is just a fake 9-leaf grass. You didn't even look at it. You didn't even ask and directly bought it. If this isn't ignorance, then what is?" Hey, brother, how can you say that? How can my 9-leaf grass be fake in your eyes? What do you mean? The grass seller suddenly became anxious, but he did not continue to argue. Instead, he turned to the woman and said, "Young lady, don't listen to him. This person is short-sighted and does not understand herbs. My 9-leaf grass is an authentic good. I guarantee it is real. Do you want to buy it? I don't need 120,000 spirit coins. 110,000 spirit coins will do." 110,000 spirit coins? The sudden price reduction made the woman hesitate. Su Yun saw this and shook his head. He wanted to leave. But in the next second, his arm was grabbed by the woman. Huh? Su Yun was slightly surprised. The woman was also stunned for a moment. Then, as if she had been electrocuted, she took back her hand. "What do you want?" Su Yun was somewhat dissatisfied. The woman took a deep breath. Her eyes were calm. "Since you say it is fake, then for this senior. For me, should I buy this herb? Are you an idiot? You want to buy a fake?" Su Yun could not help but laugh. "You." The woman had just calmed down her anger, but now it was rising again. She had not yet said anything, but the grass seller next to her became angry. She only heard the grass seller shout, Come, judge this. This brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth dares to say that the 9-leaf spirit grass I just picked is fake. Someone come and judge." As the shout spread, a large group of passers-by gathered around. Even the auction center's manager, Zhang Zhiyuan, heard the news and came over. "What's going on?" Zhang Zhiyuan came over with a pair of broken-through city guards. "Master, you came at the right time." It was as if the grass seller had seen a life-saving straw. He rushed over and pulled Zhang Zhiyuan's arm. He pointed at Zhang Zhiyuan and shouted, "My lord, this person has wrongly accused me of selling fake grass. He is slandering my character. I ask my lord to give me justice." In Broken Through City, selling fake goods was a very serious crime. According to the law of Broken Through City, the offender would be imprisoned for at least 3 years. Moreover, after his release, he would never be able to enter Broken Through City again. How come this grass seller did not run away, but instead shouted and made a big deal out of this? Was he not afraid of being exposed in public? Su Yun had a headache. He had just casually said a few words, but he did not expect to provoke a disaster. Zhang Zhiyuan looked at Su Yun, then looked at the lady in white. When he saw her, even though he was in his middle years, his eyes couldn't help but light up and he was stunned. After taking a deep breath, Zhang Zhiyuan said, "First, show me the 9-leaf grass that you are selling. If it is fake, you will be handed over to the city lord and sentenced to death." "Good." The grass seller rolled his eyes. Without the slightest hesitation, he handed over the 9-leaf grass. With a righteous look, he said, "Master, please take a look. I, Wang Deshi, dare to use my life to guarantee that it is absolutely real." Zhang Zhiyuan took the grass and urged his spirit aura to cover the jade grass. Then, he opened his eyes wide. His pupils flashed with a strange light as he carefully looked at the 9 leaves of the emerald blue spirit grass. Everyone held their breath and stared at Zhang Zhiyuan. No one dared to speak. The grass seller was sweating profusely as he constantly wiped the sweat from his cheeks. Nearly half an hour later. "It's real." These 2 words came out of Zhang Zhiyuan's mouth. He. The grass seller breathed a sigh of relief and laughed again and again. He pointed at Su Yun and shouted, "What did I say? This 9-leaf grass is genuine. Brat, you are framing me. You also ruined my business." After saying that, he turned his head to Zhang Zhiyuan and shouted, "Master, please help me take care of this false accusation and send him to the city lord. We can't let off those who spread rumors. If Broken Rush Citadel has more people like you, then how can we continue our trade?" Zhang Zhiyuan nodded and then waved his hand. "Take him. Send him to the city lord and punish him for the crime of false accusation." "Yes, master." The guards on both sides immediately moved. When the woman saw this, her eyebrows slightly wrinkled. She looked at Su Yun and saw that he was not in a hurry and had a fearless look. "Wait a minute." Finally, Su Yun, who had been silent all this time, finally opened his mouth. Everyone shifted their gazes to him in unison. "What else do you want to quibble about?" The grass seller snorted. "Quibble?" Su Yun slightly smiled. "How can the truth be quibbled? But then again, there are so many people here. Is there not a single person who can recognize the 9-leaf grass?" Chapter 42. Hearing Su Yun's words, Zhang Zhiyuan's complexion became somewhat ugly. "Young man, listening to your tone, it seems like you know a lot about the 9-leaf grass? Well then, why don't you talk about the characteristics and value of the 9-leaf grass? There are many experts in the field of herbs, even the experts from Blossom Heart Valley. You have to be careful with your words, otherwise, I will not let you off lightly." After Su Yun heard this, he immediately understood why the grass seller was so fearless. The imitation of the spirit grass had already exceeded the level of ordinary people's identification. Even Zhang Zhiyuan found it difficult to distinguish. He did not hesitate and directly said after looking around, 9-leaf grass grows in the spirit land. It takes 30 years to germinate and 50 years to mature. After 60 years, it is the best time to pick it. 9-leaf grass has 9 leaves. Each leaf has the magical effect of nourishing the bones and opening the veins. However, it is not easy to absorb these 9 leaves. The 5th leaf usually has a leaf pattern on the back of the leaf. The 9th leaf has a blade pattern on the back of the leaf. If there is a pattern on the back of the other leaves, it proves that the spirit grass grew very well. The greatest value of the 9-leaf grass is not the effect of the 9 leaves, but the magical energy contained in its rhizome. After consuming the 9-leaf grass, the most easily digested part is the rhizome. The energy in the rhizome can be used in the human body for a period of time. During this period, any medicine can be quickly digested and the efficacy of the medicine can be maximized. The effect of the 9-leaf grass is not weak, but it is difficult to grow. A conservative estimate is within 100,000 spirit coins. This person selling it for 120,000 spirit coins is simply bullying others who do not understand. After these words were said, everyone present nodded. Although these things were only basic knowledge, to be able to say it so proficiently proved that this person was not talking nonsense. After Zhang Zhiyuan heard this, he put away his anger. He handed over the 9-leaf grass and said, "Then tell me, why is this 9-leaf grass fake?" The reason is very simple. Su Yun did not take the grass and directly said, "Because the back of this grass does not have a leaf pattern or a blade pattern." No? Zhang Ziyuan was stunned. He hurriedly flipped over the 5th and 9th leaves and carefully examined them. They're clearly still here. The true veined patterns are spread all over the veins of the leaves, but this is not. It is just a simple imitation, and deliberately used profound spirit qi to engrave it. If you look carefully, you will see that the veined patterns are not distributed according to the veins of the leaves, but are intricate and complicated. The 9-leaf spirit grass will never grow like this. So, this is fake. Hearing this, Zhang Ziyuan hurriedly looked again. Sure enough, it was the same as Su Yun had said. The patterns on it were complicated and did not follow the veins of the leaves at all. Nonsense. He's talking nonsense. What do you mean by following the veins of the leaves? We've never heard of that before. This is just his side of the story. This person is definitely talking nonsense. The grass seller anxiously jumped up and shouted. The surrounding people were also discussing this, but at the moment no one really knew about this. The veins followed the veins of the leaves? All the books that recorded the 9-leaf spirit grass did not mention it? However, at this moment, a group of people wearing white clothes and carrying medicine baskets suddenly came out of the crowd. They were led by a white-haired old man with a slender beard. This little brother is right. This 9-leaf spirit grass is indeed fake. As soon as this statement came out, the crowd went into an uproar. This is Blossom Heart Valley's Ghost Master. People call him Immortal Heart Ghost Hand, Ghost Master Gemoju. It's him. That's him. The last time I was fortunate enough to see him in Blossom Heart Valley, it's him. Ghost Master has the means to bring the dead back to life. His cultivation is profound and his medical skills are superb. His words are absolutely not wrong. The surrounding people exclaimed. Zhang Ziyuan immediately walked over with his people and bowed. Greetings, Ghost Master. Lord Zhang is too polite. This old man brought his disciples here to buy some herbs. Seeing this, I came to explain. Guayamoju said with a smile. I've let the Ghost Master see a joke, Zhang Ziyuan said. Then his smile disappeared. He turned his head and waved his hand. If this is Ghost Master's verification, then this medicine must be fake. This person actually dares to sell fake things in Broken Rush City. His nature is vile and has violated the laws of Broken Rush City. He has violated the rules of our trading house. He must be severely punished. This. The grass seller was completely panicked. Men, take down this counterfeiter. Send him to the city lord to be punished. Zhang Ziyuan shouted. Yes, Lord. The guards immediately responded. The grass seller's face instantly became as white as paper. His whole body trembled. He quickly knelt down and shouted, Lord, please forgive me. Lord, I won't dare again. However, his begging for mercy was useless. The guards mercilessly picked him up and took him away. No matter how much he struggled, it was of no use. This 9-leaf spirit grass incident was finally over. Good! The surrounding crowd burst into a burst of enthusiastic cheers. Seeing this, Su-yun did not say a word. He turned around and walked into the crowd. Soon, he disappeared. Guillemot-ju and Zhang Xuan exchanged greetings for a while. After sending him away, Guillemot-ju went to look for Su-yun. "Teacher, what are you looking at?" A nearby Blossom Heart Valley disciple asked curiously. "I'm looking for that young man." Guillemot-ju thought for a while and said, "This 9-leaf spirit grass is extremely precious. Many people have never seen it before. Moreover, the description of the 9-leaf spirit grass is extremely rare. Regarding the veins of the leaves, I believe that other than our Blossom Heart Valley's secret book, there is no record of it. How could this person know about it? It can be seen that he has quite a high attainment in medicinal herbs." "Quite a high attainment? This person is so young, how high can he be?" A nearby male disciple disdainfully said. "You can't judge a person by their appearance. An expert may not necessarily be an older person. You must remember this." Guillemot-ju shook his head and turned to leave. The disciples looked at each other in dismay. They were all confused. At this moment, Su-yun, who had left the trading area, was taking a slightly hurried pace towards the exit of Broken Rush City. "Stop!" At this time, a cold shout sounded. Then, Su-yun only felt a blur in front of him. A snow-white figure suddenly appeared in front of him. Su-yun fixed his eyes and saw that this was the woman who had previously bought the fake 9-leaf spirit grass. "You admit that you are an idiot?" Su-yun smiled. Bold. The woman was angry, but her anger was suppressed by her. She coldly said, "If not for the fact that you have no evil intentions, this senior would have already beheaded you. Who are you? You're still talking about me, so arrogant." Su-yun clicked his tongue and sized her up. "I am." The woman wanted to say her name, but after thinking for a moment she stopped and said, "You don't need to ask who I am. You just need to know that you can't provoke me." "Then I won't provoke you, okay?" Su-yun shook his head and continued to move forward. However, in the next second the woman flashed again. Her speed was extremely fast, and it was difficult to catch her figure. "I say, young lady, don't tell me you have taken a fancy to me?" Su-yun was slightly annoyed. No matter how good his patience was, he could not hold on any longer. He saw the woman suddenly take out a flawless jade from her waist and hand it over to Su-yun. Although 120,000 spirit coins is not a lot, if you use the fake spirit grass, it will cause immeasurable consequences to your cultivation. You saved me, so I owe you a favor. This is the jade pendant that I always wear. If you have any difficulties, you can use this jade pendant to find me at the Immortal Sword sect. I can help you with one thing for free." The woman said. "Immortal Sword sect?" Su-yun was shocked. "You are from the Immortal Sword sect?" "Yes." "I see." Su-yun began to ponder. He had repeatedly robbed the Immortal Sword sect's treasures. It was not good to have a relationship with the Immortal Sword sect, right? After thinking for a moment, Su-yun made a decision and said, "How about this? You give me 200,000 spirit coins, how about it?" "What?" The woman's eyes flashed a trace of surprise. "That. I am in need of money. I will not take this jade pendant. You can just give me 200,000 spirit coins. Didn't you say that you don't care about 120,000 spirit coins? I believe that you don't care about money, right?" "Right." Su-yun rubbed his hands together and laughed. The woman hesitated for a moment, then said, "I don't have 200,000 spirit coins on me." Su-yun said, "Then 120,000 spirit coins will do." "I don't have it either." "Fuck, then why did you buy the 9-leaf grass just now? Are you going to write an IOU?" Su-yun said with wide eyes. "Why not?" The woman snorted, "Is it possible that I will renege on my debt?" "Fuck." Su-yun was speechless. He was too lazy to talk nonsense with this crazy woman. He shook his head and continued to move forward. Where are you going? Blossom Heart Valley. Blossom Heart Valley? Why are you going there? Take the money. Take the money? The woman was confused. She looked at Su-yun with doubt, but he had already walked far away. Looking at his back, the woman's eyes raised a trace of doubt. But why? Why do I feel that this person is somewhat familiar? Where have I seen him before? On foot, it took about half an hour to reach Blossom Heart Valley. Su-yun used all his belongings to buy a bundle of still dead wood, and walked into the valley. The entrance of Blossom Heart Valley was crowded with people from all over the world. There were nobles from the royal palace, spirit cultivators, and common people. They were arranged by the disciples at the entrance to rest and wait for the disciples to meet them. Most of them came to seek medical advice. No one dared to act rashly. Most of the time, Blossom Heart Valley would help them solve their problems. If the disciples encountered a difficult disease and were helpless, they would ask the elders to come forward. When Su-yun walked in, he saw a young man in plain clothes. He was supporting a thin middle-aged man as they walked towards the entrance of the valley. They were about to receive treatment from the Blossom Heart Valley's disciples. In less than a stick of time, the middle-aged man came out full of vigor. He did not need the help of the young man. Truly a living Buddha. A living Buddha. Thank you. Thank you. The middle-aged man constantly expressed his gratitude. The young man knelt down and kowtowed. Both of them had tears in their eyes. They had already regarded these disciples as immortals. A few Blossom Heart Valley disciples were full of smiles. They quickly helped everyone up. Their eyes were filled with pride and joy. Seeing this, Su-yun got up and walked over. At the same time, he shouted, you guys are really lucky. Yes, if not for the immortals of Blossom Heart Valley, I am afraid my father would not have survived this month. The young man wiped the tears from the corner of his eyes. Who would have thought that Su-yun would shake his head and say, no. The luck I am talking about is not only referring to you guys. It is also referring to them. You guys are still alive. You guys are really lucky. After he said this, the father and son and the few Blossom Heart Valley disciples were suddenly stunned. Young master, what are you talking about? A thin and tender-looking disciple frowned and asked. I am saying, your medical skills are clumsy and full of loopholes. To be able to cure these suffering people is really a lucky thing. And you two, father and son, were treated by such a quack and did not die. It is really lucky. So I am saying that you guys are really lucky. Su-yun laughed. Chapter 43. What are you talking about? The young man was stunned for a moment. After waking up, he grabbed Su-yun's clothes and said angrily, no matter who you are, I will not allow you to insult the benefactors of Blossom Heart Valley. Apologize. Quickly apologize to the benefactors. The young man was somewhat impulsive. Looking at his strength, it was estimated that he was also a spirit cultivator. Currently, Su-yun had eaten the side effects of the demonic blood array. His body did not have any spirit power. How could he be his opponent? But he did not panic. He turned to look at the disciples of Blossom Heart Valley and laughed. What? The famous Blossom Heart Valley dared to open their doors to treat patients, but did not dare to face the mistakes of others? Oh, if that's the case, then it's really an undeserved reputation. You can't insult our Blossom Heart Valley. The few disciples of Blossom Heart Valley could not stand it anymore. One by one, they shouted with red faces. The young man who grabbed Su-yun was even more violent. He raised his fist and was ready to go down. The patients who were waiting to be cured saw this scene. A few elders stood up to dissuade him, but it was useless. Wait. Just then, a slightly old voice suddenly sounded from the entrance of the valley. The young man was surprised and stopped his fist. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice. They saw a group of Blossom Heart Valley disciples carrying a medicine basket walking in. The leader was actually the famous immortal heart ghost hand Guillermo Ju. It's Teacher Ghost, the disciples exclaimed in delight. So it's Master Ghost. Master Ghost, long time no see. Master Ghost, you came at the right time. There's an arrogant disciple here. You have to teach this kid a lesson. Master, I think this kid is crazy. Maybe there's something wrong with his brain. Why don't you cure his brain? People crowded over and said one after another. However, Guillermo Ju did not pay attention to the crowd. Instead, he walked towards Su-yun. The young man saw this and released Su-yun. He quickly bowed to the white-haired old man. Guillermo Ju nodded at him. Then, his yellow eyes fell on Su-yun. He laughed. Young man, I did not expect you to return to our Blossom Heart Valley. So it's Ghost Master, I'm honored to meet you. Su-yun pulled his slightly wrinkled clothes and immediately saluted. And Guillermo Ju nodded his head, his old eyes sizing up Su-yun, and said, Young man, what you said before, this old man has heard it all. Moxin, Mo Ming, and the rest have only been in the valley for a short period of time, but they are all talented disciples of my Blossom Heart Valley. All of them have advanced to the first stage of the Spirit Intermediate Disciple Realm. Their cultivation is not weak, and they are familiar with herbs and people. Their medical skills are not bad. Why do you say that my Blossom Heart Valley's medical skills are clumsy? Moreover, the rescue was carried out in the house. How did you know? Recognizing a fake grass in Broken Break City is enough for you to get carried away? How dare you come to our Blossom Heart Valley and behave atrociously? The male disciple at the side snorted. Teacher, why don't we beat this person up and throw him out of Blossom Heart Valley? Senior brother Mo Fei is right. This person is arrogant and insulting my Blossom Heart Valley. We cannot forgive him. Beat him up. Chase him away. The disciples shouted with righteous indignation. Guillermo Ju raised his hand and stopped the voices of the crowd. He looked at the people present and said, Today there are so many people in my Blossom Heart Valley. If I, Guillermo Ju, do not care, it will damage my Blossom Heart Valley's reputation. Little brother, today, you have to explain why my Blossom Heart Valley's disciples' medical skills are clumsy and full of loopholes? I hope you can enlighten me. After that, the old man unexpectedly bowed to Su-yun. This action really shocked everyone present. His cultivation was strong, his medical skills were brilliant, and he was compassionate. He was not superior to others, and he always treated others humbly. Such an elder was truly worthy of respect. Su-yun did not hesitate and also hurriedly bowed to Guillermo Ju. Senior's cultivation level is high, and you are the Blossom Heart Valley's chief master. You have such an honor, but you still treat this junior with respect. In the face of this junior's arrogant words, you are not angry, it is really admirable. Admirable? Su-yun laughed. I don't dare. Little brother is young, but you can distinguish the authenticity of the nine-leaf grass. You are really young and promising. This time, I really hope you can enlighten me, Guillermo Ju said. Su-yun thought for a moment, his eyes swept around the crowd, and then said, Master Ghost, although your Blossom Heart Valley's disciples are clumsy, but they should be able to deal with some minor illnesses. There are many people with serious illnesses. You should let them take a look first, and let me correct you one by one. Correct me? The Blossom Heart Valley disciples looked at each other, their eyes were full of doubt. The few Blossom Heart Valley disciples could not stand it anymore. They wanted to attack, but were stopped by Guillermo Ju. In that case, this old man will broaden his horizons. Little brother, please. After that, Guillermo Ju waved his hand. The disciples understood and began to receive the patients. These disciples were usually worshipped as bodhisattvas. Each and every one of them were proud and arrogant. Now that they were humiliated by Su-yun, they were really furious. When treating the patients, they were serious and serious. They directly used their profound spirit chi to treat the patients. Combined with the refined medicine, in less than an incense stick of time, an old woman who was suffering from the pain was full of vitality. The old woman was overjoyed. She was deeply grateful and kept thanking them. The disciples also enjoyed the praise of the patient. Their faces were full of pride. At this time, Su Yun could not help but shake his head. Unlucky, this one is really unlucky. Hearing Su Yun's words, Guillemot Ju felt strange. Little brother, what do you mean? Su Yun did not answer. Instead, he turned to the female disciple beside him and said, I'll have to trouble you to insert a silver needle 3 inches above the old granny's acupuncture point. The female disciple was stunned and looked at Guillemot Ju. The acupuncture point was not an important acupuncture point. There was no harm in inserting a needle. Guillemot Ju nodded. Seeing this, the female disciple took the silver needle. Using a bit of profound spirit chi, she walked over and communicated with the old granny. Then, she lifted her clothes and inserted the silver needle into an acupuncture point on her back. But what was shocking was that, after the silver needle was inserted, in just a few breaths, the entire needle head turned pitch black. What? Guillemot Ju's sunken old eyes opened wide. His face was shocked. The disciple's face instantly turned pale. He was stunned. This old granny has a chi heart disease. When people are young, they will try to cultivate, but many people have to give up because of various reasons. Some of them do not cultivate properly, so their cultivation stagnates and they have no choice but to give up. But the spirit chi produced by the wrong cultivation will block the meridians, leaving behind hidden dangers. Usually, it is not easy to detect, but when they are old, it will flare up. It will torture the body and cause unbearable pain. Usually, the chi heart disease will not last more than a year before dying. This disease is very common and very scary. But it is not difficult to cure. There are many ways. Like this little brother, you used the Blossom Heart Valley's unique medicine needle technique, is it? Su Yun asked. The disciple came back to his senses, nodded his head, and hurriedly said, This technique was created by the great elder Pil King Zhang Mo Shi. It uses the blood blossom pollen to refine, and then smears it on the silver needles. The Ju He and Kai Wu acupuncture points of the human body can be used to remove the useless spirit chi in the shortest amount of time, thus curing the disease. This method was implemented a few months ago, and the cured people have no major problems. There are no problems. Not now, but not in the future. The blood blossom itself is not poisonous, but after refining, it will release a strange fragrance. This fragrance must not come in contact with spirit chi. Once it comes in contact with it, it will immediately absorb the spirit chi and turn it into poison. Why can it cure the chi heart disease? In fact, it is not a cure, but rather a combination of them. The old granny's spirit chi is indeed not there, but her body has an even more deadly poison. If this poison is not removed, the old granny will die within 3 months, and even the immortals will not be able to save her. How is this possible? The disciples all showed a horrified expression. Guillemot Ju was also stunned. They did not want to believe Su Yun's words. However, the silver needle on the back of the old granny explained the problem. At this time, Su Yun pulled over the middle-aged man who was previously cured. And this uncle, your Blossom Heart Valley used the rushing void technique to open the meridians and nourish the chi. This method is good, but the technique is very dangerous. If there is a slight error in the technique, then this uncle will die from your spirit chi. But fortunately, you all performed well. Although you all performed well, it may not be the same in the future, and it may not be the same for others. Until today, it has not led to a tragedy. You are really lucky, but if you continue, I believe that a tragedy will soon occur. Every word that Su Yun said made people's hearts jump, and Guillemot Ju also found it difficult to calm down. Su Yun explained the shortcomings of Blossom Heart Valley's current method of treatment. The scene was silent. Whether it was the patients or the disciples of Blossom Heart Valley, they all held their breath and did not dare to make a sound. After Su-yun finished speaking, no one made a sound. It was like a class. Guillemot bowed his head and did not speak. He seemed to be thinking, but his face was incomparably dignified. He was the only one who was not shocked by Su-yun's bold words, but his heart was still shaken. Little brother, you seem to have a good understanding of medicine. Moreover, you have done research on my Blossom Heart Valley's medical technique. Since you can say such things, may I ask if you have a way to perfect it? Guillemot asked. Of course. Su-yun said. Not only do I have a way to perfect it, I also have a way to eliminate the side effects of the Profound Spirit Heart Pill that you are currently worried about. Profound Spirit Heart Pill, a rare pill produced by Blossom Heart Valley. It is refined with a large number of precious herbs. After consuming, it can greatly increase the recovery of spirit chi. It can also increase the power of mystical techniques by several times. This is a pill developed by Blossom Heart Valley a long time ago. Everyone knows about it, but this pill cannot be consumed. Once consumed, within 100 days, the user's spirit essence will be completely closed. The recovery of spirit chi will be reduced to less than 10%. Because of this side effect, this pill is of little value. 100 days is too long. No one would use it. After Guillemot heard this, his calm expression suddenly became excited. What did you say? You can solve the side effects of the Profound Spirit Heart Pill? This is impossible. Senior brother has not found a way to cure it after so many years. How do you know? If you don't believe me, I can demonstrate it to you. Su-yun said. Seeing that this person did not seem to be talking nonsense, Guillemot quickly said, That's good. Little brother, quickly follow me into the valley. Quickly come. After that, Guillemot pulled Su-yun's hand and walked inside. Wait. Su-yun suddenly said. What? Guillemot was surprised. If you want to enter the valley, I can tell you the solution. But you must pay me 200,000 spirit coins and 2 profound spirit heart pills. Otherwise, I will not tell you my exclusive secret recipe. Su-yun said. 200,000 spirit coins? Guillemot frowned. That was not a small amount. The current Blossom Heart Valley's medical loopholes, as well as the Profound Spirit Heart Pill. I can tell you all these. If you feel that it is not right, you can refuse to pay. Su-yun added. After Guillemot heard this, he thought for a moment and immediately slapped the table. Although 200,000 spirit coins is not a small amount, but compared to what you said, it is really nothing. Good. Little brother, this matter, I, Guillemot, will temporarily agree. If what you said is true, I will give you the money. Please. Su-yun smiled and stepped in. The noisy entrance of Blossom Heart Valley finally restored its calm and order. People continued to line up, waiting for the cure. Not long after Su-yun and Guillemot entered Blossom Heart Valley, a white figure suddenly fell. Why did the tracking technique track Limitless Sword God's activities in Blossom Heart Valley? Did he come to Blossom Heart Valley? Long Xianli took out the round mirror, looked up, and softly muttered. After thinking for a moment, she put away the round mirror, directly landed, and walked into Blossom Heart Valley. Chapter 44. A dish that did not shine was not a good dish. Similarly, a herb that did not shine was also not a good herb. Blossom Heart Valley was filled with precious herbs. These flowers and plants made it look like a dream. Coupled with the fragrance of medicinal pills that wafted throughout the year, this place was like a paradise on earth. In the middle of the valley there was a fork. On the right side of the fork there was a pavilion that was built against the walls of the valley. The pavilion design was very unique. It was not tall, but it was fat. It looked unusually spacious. On the right side of the pavilion, there was a chimney with green smoke floating out of it. On the first floor of the pavilion, A short bald old man was fiddling with something in front of a table that was decorated with array patterns. The old man had a goatee and looked to be in his 70s. His eyes were sunken and his expression was very serious. His withered hands were constantly touching herbs from the side and adding them to the array patterns. He almost did not look at it. With a touch, the type and quantity were just right. When the materials were added to the array, it immediately burst out a purple light. The old man retreated a few steps to avoid being burned by the purple light. After a moment, the light faded. He nervously stared at the array. A pitch-black pill appeared on top of the formation. However, the appearance of the pill did not make the old man happy. Instead, his old face was full of disappointment. Using an array to refine pills is much more difficult than using a pill furnace to refine pills, but it is more efficient. Using a pill furnace to refine pills is stable but slow. Using an array to refine pills is the opposite. It is unstable but fast. The Pill King's craftsmanship is exquisite. You can skillfully operate the array. You can refine a pill that stabilizes the spirit aura of the human body. So when the user breaks through, they will not make a mistake and self-destruct. However, this pill currently has a side effect. That is, after taking it, the rate of spirit aura production will decrease a lot. At this time, a voice came from behind. The old man heard the voice. "Huh?" and turned to look at the person who came in. It was a slightly thin young man wearing a white robe. He was tall and straight with sharp eyebrows. He looked good. "Who are you?" Pill King Zhang Mo frowned. Junior Su Yun greets Pill King. Su Yun cupped his fist. Su Yun. Pill King Zhang Mo looked at Emoju. Emoju, where did this Su Yun come from? I don't know, but senior brother, this person has a good understanding of pharmacology. He said that he can solve the side effects of the profound heart-spirit energy pill. Guayamoju said. Solve the side effects of the profound heart spiritual energy pill? Zhang Mo's face sank. What arrogance! Young man, do you know what you're saying? Of course. Su Yun nodded. If that's the case, then leave. I don't like arrogant people. Zhang Mo snorted and turned his head to continue his research. Seeing this, Guayamoju's gaze landed on Su Yun. Su Yun understood and walked towards the table where the runes were placed. His hands began to skillfully pinch the herbs and add them into the runes one by one. Apart from that, he also added the still dead wood that he bought in the Broken Rush City. He broke them into pieces and mixed them into the runes. Zhang Mo was stunned, and his eyes were attracted by the movement. The quantity, the coordination of the medicinal properties, and the timing of activating the formation were all perfect. It was obvious that this person also knew how to refine pills using formations. Slowly, Zhang Mo's cold face changed. Su Clan's main martial arts field. Two figures stood in the martial arts field. Whoosh 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 whoosh, a burst of sword light swept past, and several iron statues erected in the martial arts field were instantly cut into pieces. The fierce sword chi fiercely rippled, and fiercely hit the edge of the martial arts field's protective barrier, causing the thick barrier to shake. A girl with long hair like a waterfall was sweating profusely. Looking at the result, she secretly breathed a sigh of relief, and put away the vicious snow sword in her hand. Not enough. At this time, a cold shout came from the side. The girl looked sideways and saw a middle-aged man with a square face. He stared at her with a serious look and shouted, "This sword chi is not enough. Continue to practice." Continue to practice? She had been practicing for 3 hours. The girl's eyebrows slightly twisted, but she did not resist. Her mind seemed to think of something. She dragged her tired body, secretly gritted her teeth, and continued to practice with her sword. Until sunset. Okay. The middle-aged man finally whispered, waved his hand and said, "Later go to the medicine house to get the pills, and then go back to meditate. Qing Er, your time is very tight. You must not be lazy, understand?" Reporting to the Patriarch, Qing Er understands. Ching Er put down the sword in her hand and weakly bowed. The patriarch nodded and turned to leave. Patriarch! At this time, Ching Er suddenly called out. The patriarch stopped and looked at her expressionlessly. Ching Er hesitated for a moment. Her white cheeks were full of hesitation. After a moment, she gathered up her courage and said, Patriarch, Ching Er heard some rumors. They say that the patriarch has already set up a marriage for Ching Er. I don't know if this is true? After the patriarch heard this, his face was still expressionless. After a moment, he coldly said, Since it is rumors, how can you believe it? I carefully cultivated you to make contributions to the Sioux clan, not to let you listen to these rumors. If there is a next time, you will have to cut your own ears. The voice fell and he left. Ching Er quietly stood in the same place. After a long time, she sighed, and her eyes were full of sorrow. Inside Blossom Heart Valley's Medicine King Pavilion. Good! 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 Cheers of joy could be heard from the pavilion, followed by bursts of laughter. I did not expect that this small dead still tree actually has the combined effect of flower spirit grass and eternal river pill. This is incredible! Little brother, quickly tell us, how do you know this principle? Dare I ask who is your teacher? Can I have the honor to meet him? In the pavilion, the Medicine King Zhang Mo opened his eyes and asked with a face full of expectation. Obviously, the young man in front of him had already aroused his appetite, and he could not stop himself. My teacher said that it is not convenient to reveal his name, but I can tell you one thing. My teacher came from Blossom Heart Valley, so I know many methods of Blossom Heart Valley. Standing in front of the array, Su Yun laughed. These words were half true and half false. He did not have a teacher, but he did learn about medicine from Blossom Heart Valley. In his previous life, he had cultivated here for a period of time. The person he came into contact with the most was Blossom Heart Valley's Pill King Zhang Mo Su Yun, who was crazily studying, would have a belly full of questions to ask, and Zhang Mo would always answer them seriously. Therefore, in Su Yun's heart, Zhang Mo was equivalent to his teacher. No matter how high Su Yun's knowledge of medicine was, or how strong his cultivation was, in his heart, there were some bottom lines that he would never break. For Zhang Mo's questions, Su Yun did not hide anything from him. The two of them asked and answered. Gui Mo Ju, who was next to them, could only sit there, unable to interrupt. This went on until night fell, and it was still not over. Genius! You really are a genius. At such a young age, you actually have such attainments in medicine. You really are a genius. However, since your teacher is from Blossom Heart Valley, it is reasonable to say that you are also from Blossom Heart Valley. No. Since you are from Blossom Heart Valley, how can you wander outside? You must join my Blossom Heart Valley. The Medicine King Zhang Mo stood up and said with a serious and urgent look. Guillermo Ju heard this and was shocked. Senior, what are you doing? Recruiting disciples is not your job. Zhang Mo frowned. What? Do I, as the great elder of Blossom Heart Valley, not have the right to recruit disciples? Of course you do, but, Guillermo Ju secretly winked, the meaning was already very clear. Although this person had a good understanding of medicine, this was only understanding. For this person, no one knew anything about him, so how could they just recruit him? If they recruited a thief, wouldn't that be bad? However, Zhang Mo obviously did not care about this, and shamelessly shouted, I don't care. I don't care. Today, I must make this kid join my Blossom Heart Valley. Later, I will go and find the Valley Master. Guillermo Ju was speechless. Su Yun's heart warmed. He smiled and said, Senior Zhang, this junior understands. This junior is from the Su family, so I really cannot join your valley. I ask for your understanding, but regarding medicine, if the senior is interested, you can contact this junior at any time. This junior will personally come and discuss with you, and will not hide anything. After Zhang Mo heard this, His eyes revealed a trace of reluctance, but since the other party had said so, he could not force it. He could only say with pity, "Kid, I like to listen to your words. At such a young age, you have such a good temperament. But you must remember what you said, in the future, you must come to Blossom Heart Valley." "This junior will remember," Su-yun said. Guillemot felt strange. Before, when he was in contact with Su-yun, he was always cold and indifferent. Why was he so respectful when he was in contact with Zhang Mo? "The time is not early, this junior has something important to do. Goodbye, Master Ghost, our previous agreement. I don't know if you can honor it?" At this time, Su-yun stood up and said, "Of course." Guillemot nodded. "You solved so many problems in our Blossom Heart Valley, I will not go back on my words. Come with me." After that, Guillemot walked out of the pavilion. But at this time, a clear and loud shout sounded. "Is it so difficult to borrow a 9-leaf spirit grass from you? Is it possible that my immortal sword sect will owe you money?" This voice? Su-yun froze for a moment, and then he understood who it was. Guillemot quickened his pace and went to the front hall. In the front hall, a few disciples were standing there with anxious faces, and in front of them, there was a person wearing a veil, white clothes like a fairy. "What happened?" Guillemot asked. The fairy-like person walked over and immediately saw Su-yun behind Guillemot. "It's you?" the two people said in unison. "Why are you here?" "To get money." Su-yun exhaled and said to Guillemot, "Master Ghost, you go and prepare spirit coins for me, I need it urgently." "Okay, I'll go get it." Guillemot called a few words to a disciple, the disciple nodded, and immediately ran away. Then Guillemot in front of the fairy in front of him saluted, and said, "May I ask who you are?" "I am the third elder of the Immortal Sword sect, Long Xianli," the woman said coldly. After that, Guillemot and Su-yun were shocked. Damn, how could she be an elder of the Immortal Sword sect? What relationship did she have with the woman who fought with him at the Gu Mountain? But this woman did not seem to know him, so she should be fine. Su-yun quickly calmed his agitated heart, and secretly guarded against this person. Hearing this woman's words, and feeling her aura, Guillemot immediately reacted, and quickly said, "So it is an elder of the Immortal Sword sect. Quick, please come in. If there's any neglect, please forgive me. You don't need to entertain me, I want to stay in your Blossom Heart Valley for a few days, and during this time, I do not want others to know of my existence. I wonder if it is possible?" "This is not a problem." "Another 9-leaf spirit grass? If the Immortal Sword sect needs it, Blossom Heart Valley will naturally provide it." Although Blossom Heart Valley's reputation was stronger than the Immortal Sword sect, their strength was inferior, so they would not offend them for a single 9-leaf spirit grass. For this woman, Su-yun did not dare to have too much contact. After getting 200,000 spirit coins and 2 profound spirit heart pills, he was ready to leave. However, before he left, the Pill King, Zhang Mo, sent a disciple to deliver a plate to Su-yun. With this plate, Su-yun could freely enter and exit Blossom Heart Valley. Su-yun did not hesitate and accepted it. But just as Su-yun left, Long Xianli's face suddenly changed. She hurriedly took out a round mirror and looked up. The dot on the round mirror was actually moving. Why did it suddenly move? Did Limitless Sword God notice that I have sneaked in here, and is preparing to leave? Long Xianli thought for a moment, and suddenly, she seemed to think of something. She looked up and asked, "May I ask Ghostmaster, the person who just left, what is his name?" "That young man? He is called Su-yun, and is said to be from the Su family of Julian district." Ghostmaster said strangely. "Su-yun." Long Xianli whispered. Chapter 45. After leaving Blossom Heart Valley, Su-yun took 200,000 spirit coins and immediately returned to Broken Rush City. He began to purchase materials according to the Sword Elders list. Although these materials were sold on the market, they were extremely rare. It took Su Yun almost 2 days to collect all of them. After he finished preparing the materials, he used the remaining money to rent a cultivation room in a high-class inn in Broken Rush City before moving in. He summoned the Sword Elder and began to refine these precious herbs according to his instructions. The cultivation room was different from ordinary rooms. This was a special room that was specially provided for Spirit Cultivator. Every single arrangement in the room was beneficial to Spirit Cultivator. On the 10th day after the heavenly demon blood formation was used, all the ingredients were refined. Following the steps, he began to cleanse his meridians. Apply it to your body first. He then put the Ju Luo tree sap into the 3 yang mud, followed by adding the birth-stimulating stamen, the Luo wolf core, and the Star Gang beast heart bone. He then threw it into the spring crystal cauldron and refined it for a while, turning it into a paste. He then took it out and smeared it on his body. After 6 hours, the mud would seep into the body and disappear. 10 days had passed, and his profound spirit chi had recovered. He then used the remaining ingredients to refine pills. 6 days later, the pill was taken out of the pot and swallowed. Together with the mud that had fused into his body, the 2 substances began to cleanse his tendons and blood vessels, strengthening every part of his body, especially his chi channels. Su Yun sat cross-legged in the inn for 4 days before the sludge in his body was expelled. It really is a good prescription. Not only does it strengthen the body's tissues, but it also removes large amounts of impurities. Su Yun heaved a sigh of relief and was extremely happy. This is my Limitless Sword Sex secret recipe. The benefits are naturally countless. The Sword Elder's slightly proud voice came out. Su Yun nodded his head and wore the everlasting stone around his neck. Immediately after, he laughed and said, "Senior, the pulse cleansing is over. So, can I start cultivating the pure divine spirit aura?" "Of course. After cleansing your meridians, you have the everlasting stone. In addition to the pills that you have refined yourself, it is not difficult to transform your profound spirit chi into Lord Spirit Chi. However, there will be some pain. Kid, you have to endure it." "I will endure it." Su Yun nodded, his eyes filled with determination. "Alright, I'll recite the chant. Follow the chant. Remember, once you transform your attribute into Spirit Lord Aura, you must meditate less in the future and train more in actual combat. The training of your chi needs to be steady, ruthless, accurate, and fast. Listen up." The Sword Elder took a deep breath, and his mouth began to emit sentences that sounded like a poem. The spiritual wind moves the Tian Shu, the cyclone enters the sea and the moon, the fierce air splashes the square valley, the heart opens the Qi, Hai Yu, Tian Shu, Fang Gu. These are the most important Qi points in the human body. They should not be touched easily. But from what the Sword Elder said, it seems like he wants me to use my profound spirit Qi to attack these points. Isn't that courting death? Su Yun was shocked. However, he knew that the Sword Elder would not harm him, so he hardened his heart and did as he was told. Oh, almost at the moment when the Qi hit the acupuncture point, bursts of bone-scraping pain rose up. Su Yun's face was pale, and beads of sweat rolled down his face. At first, he was able to bear it, but as the chant deepened, the collision of auras became more frequent, and the pain became more intense. "Ah!" Su Yun began to roar. The Sword Elder could hear Su Yun's painful voice, but he did not stop. At this critical moment, he could not stop. Enduring pain is the most basic ability that a spirit cultivator should have. Su Yun, I do not ask you to develop the limitless sword arts, I only ask you to make the limitless sword arts reappear in this world. So I can rest in peace. The Sword Elder thought quietly. The sky was slightly bright. Outside the house, it was quiet, but inside the house, there was a burst of violent gasping sound. Gradually, the gasping sound turned into a low growl. Su Yun, you have already broken through the meridian points according to the chant. Now that you have broken through the meridian points, the last step is to transform the profound spirit chi into a sharp attribute. It must go through your body once, and under your pressure, it will form the pure divine spirit chi. This is the most important step. You must not be negligent at this time. You must endure it. Hearing this, Su Yun secretly tightened his nerve. Endure it? He must endure it. His whole body felt like it was being torn apart, and it did not stop. The pain was so extreme that it almost made him numb. Under the fierce impact of the profound spirit chi, the acupuncture points were broken through one by one. The turning points of the tendons in his body produced a large number of crackling sounds like firecrackers. It could be seen that Su Yun's skin had a large number of bumps. These bumps were only the size of a rice grain, but they were like a galloping stallion. Su Yun's limbs and body quickly circled. Pay attention. They have begun to collide. Defend your chi channels. Strengthen your defense. If your chi channels are broken by them, you will lose all of your cultivation and you will die. You must persist. The Sword Elder shouted. He only felt the moment his voice fell, a fierce intent surged through his body. It was as if the sword chi was running around everywhere, making people frightened. Su Yun did not dare to have the slightest bit of slack. He concentrated and waited for the impact of the spirit chi. Bang! The first place was hit, and a deep dent appeared on the thin wall of the chi channels. If it was hit again, it would be broken. Su Yun could clearly feel the place that was hit. He hastily used the remaining profound spirit chi in his body to fill the dent, ready to receive the second hit. Bang! Another place was hit. Continue to fill. Third place. Fill. Fourth place. Fifth place. Fill. Fill. Sixth place. Su Yun was sweating profusely. The profound spirit chi in his body was almost exhausted. All of it was used to fill the shattered chi channels. Finally, his profound spirit chi was completely exhausted. He could not continue to repair his chi channels. Su Yun was frightened. He did not dare to imagine what would happen in the next second. However, the next scene made him stunned. All of the spirit essences in his body stopped working. They no longer produced profound spirit chi. The fierce spirit chi that was attacking his chi channels also stopped. Is it over? Su Yun muttered. The Sword Elder's voice sounded. Profound spirit chi is exhausted. Chi channels are not broken. The attribute of Spirit Lord Spirit Chi has been successfully converted. In the next hour you will not be able to recover even a little bit of Spirit Chi. All of your spirit essences will begin to produce Spirit Lord Spirit Chi. Su Yun, very good. I have not seen such a resilient person for a long time. Congratulations on condensing Spirit Lord Spirit Chi. After Su Yun heard this, his face finally revealed a happy smile. But not long after, his eyes went black and he fainted on the ground. When he woke up the next day, Su Yun did not dare to waste any time. He ate some food and immediately sat cross-legged. The transformation of his attribute into profound spirit chi caused his chi channels to double in size. The number of spirit essences increased again, reaching a total of 388. But what was even more surprising was that his cultivation actually broke through again and again, directly leaping into the 10th stage of the Spirit Novice realm. He did not think that condensing Spirit Lord Spirit Chi would actually help his cultivation. In this, the everlasting stone should have played a big role. Su Yun secretly thought. Although he had condensed the pure divine spirit aura, practicing the first sword of the limitless sword arts would be incomparably easy, but his current pure divine spirit aura was still very weak and not sharp. He still needed to practice more. Cultivating chi. The simplest method was to frequently circulate chi to familiarize the body with the spirit chi. Let the chi channels accept the baptism of the spirit chi. Just like a human exercising, after a long period of exercise the body would become stronger. The most direct factor that affected the speed of cultivating qi was the speed of recovery after the spirit qi was used up. Su Yun, who had a good understanding of the continent, had already thought of a place to quickly recover his spirit qi. 800 miles away from the broken Rush City was the five-colored rock ground. After preparing his rations and spirit stallion, Su Yun quickly whipped his horse to rush over and prepared to cultivate. The five-colored rock grounds was located in a remote area. The nearest village was more than 100 miles away. Therefore, there were very few people here. Su Yun could freely cultivate here. Of course, the only thing worth paying attention to was to always be on guard against the five-colored rock monsters. The following cultivation was dull and tedious. Every day, he would repeatedly consume Spirit Lord Spirit Qi and familiarize himself with it. With the passage of time, coupled with the Sword Elder's patient explanation of Spirit Lord Spirit Qi, Su Yun gradually saw the door. He took out the engraved dragon blade and tried to use the Spirit Lord Spirit Qi to cover and control it. At first, it was still shaky. The sword was like a paper airplane thrown into the air. It swayed and was difficult to stabilize. But after a few days of training, the engraved dragon blade was able to smoothly fly in the air. But its lethality was still very weak. After nearly a month of training, he had only reached this point. Su Yun had to admit that it was quite a blow to him. Just imagine, it was already so difficult to control one sword. What kind of degree would it be to control 10,000 swords? However, no matter how difficult it was, he could not delay. Now that a few months had passed, he had not yet entered the spirit intermediate realm. When the time came, would he have enough strength to face everything? Thinking of this, he did not dare to be lazy and focused on training. What kind of obsession does this kid have in his heart? Why can't he stop once he starts cultivating? The Sword Elder saw that Su Yun was so hard-working and could not help but mutter. Like this, another half a month passed. Regarding the Spirit Lord Spirit Qi, Su Yun already knew it like the back of his hand. With just one sword, he was able to kill the enemy. Although the power was not great, there was still progress. On this day, the Spirit Lord Spirit Qi was exhausted. Su Yun sat cross-legged on a piece of five-colored rock and meditated to restore his breath. Suddenly, there was a burst of buzzing sound coming from his waist. Su Yun opened his eyes, took down the order badge on his waist that was shaking crazily, and looked at it. It was the Su family outer sect token. What is this? The Sword Elder did not understand. Su family outer sect command. Once the Su family has an urgent task or situation, they will use this command to recall the Su family members. Su Yun said. So, the Su family is calling you back? Yes. What do you do? I am not sure. Su Yun shook his head. Not waiting for him to think more, the ground suddenly began to tremble. What's going on? Su Yun stabilized his swaying body. He was slightly surprised. Chapter 46. The earth gently trembled, as if there was an earthquake. Su Yun hurriedly jumped off the boulder and looked around. The ground shook more and more violently. The surrounding stones rolled down and cracks appeared on the ground. Earthquake! No. The Sword Elder whispered, there is a strong spirit aura. Observing the attribute. It is true divine spirit aura. Kid, be careful. True divine spirit aura? Su Yun was startled. He anxiously retreated, only to see that the ground not far away suddenly split open, and a gigantic stone hand extended out. It pressed on both sides of the crack and began to exert force. The crack was forcibly opened. Then, a huge stone head came out. Su Yun's eyes widened as he looked at the behemoth drilling out from the ground. His face was full of surprise. This thing was 5 meters tall, like a small giant. Its body was covered with rocks. Many of the rocks even had grass growing between them. On its head were 2 green bean-sized eyes. This is the giant rock warrior? The Sword Elder was stunned. Giant rock warrior? Su Yun heard this and suddenly understood. Is it the giant rock warrior that hides underground and feeds on granular rocks? I'm not wrong. The Sword Elder said, this giant rock warrior has been hibernating here for a long time. The granular rocks underground have all been eaten by it. It is estimated that it is preparing to change its location and continue to find new granular rocks to continue to eat. Su Yun was overjoyed. It is said that the giant rock warrior's spirit nucleus has a magical effect. When worn on the body, it can be activated during an attack. It can petrify the opponent. It is a weapon for fighting and killing. You are thinking about this? It is just that the giant rock warrior's cultivation should be at the 5th stage of the Spirit Core Disciple Realm. You are only at the 10th stage of the Spirit Novice Disciple Realm. It is impossible for you to fight this giant rock warrior alone. The Sword Elder shook his head. The giant rock warrior's body is huge and its strength is amazing. Especially its defense. It can be called the king of the 5th stage of the Spirit Core Disciple Realm. However, it has advantages and naturally has disadvantages. Its extremely slow speed is the fatal weakness of the giant rock warrior. It is said that its speed is equivalent to a middle-aged man who has not cultivated spirit chi. My current speed is 3 times that of an ordinary middle-aged man. In other words, I am at least 2 to 3 times faster than it. I can completely rely on the limitless sword arts to kill it. Ha ha ha. Hearing Su Yun's words, the Sword Elder laughed. Kid, are you too whimsical? Wear it out. Let's not talk about this guy's tenacious vitality. Just based on its defense alone, I don't think you can break through it. Ordinary profound spirit chi will not be able to harm it. Senior is right. However, wasn't this just right? It just so happens that I can use it to cultivate my Spirit Lord aura. The Spirit Lord aura is extremely sharp and has an extremely strong killing power. It is not impossible for me to break through its defense. Cultivating while consuming energy is not a bad thing. Furthermore, once I kill it, I can obtain the huge rock spirit nucleus, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. That's a good idea, but if your aura is depleted, how are you going to recover it? Profound Spirit Heart Pill. I forgot you had this treasure. Giant Rock General doesn't have any long-range attack methods, so I'll use the first sword of the Limitless Sword Arts. Since that's the case, you can give it a try. But are you not going to care about the Su family? Let's put it aside for now. After all, he's outside, and it takes time to recall him. Su Yun took a deep breath. Holding the engraved dragon blade, he rushed towards the rock giant. As he neared, the engraved dragon blade flew out and pierced towards the giant rock giant. Dong! The blade pierced into the giant rock giant's bean-sized eye. The sword entered 2 inches deep. Whoa! The giant rock giant let out a painful and angry roar. Then, it took a step forward and rushed towards Su Yun. The eye is weak. You can break through the defense, but just attacking this area is obviously not enough. The Sword Elder said. Su Yun activated his pure divine spirit chi and forced it towards his right hand. Then, he immediately threw it towards the engraved dragon blade. Hua! The pure divine spirit chi flew out and hit the engraved dragon blade. Immediately, it dispersed and tightly wrapped around the blade. Then, Su Yun swung his hand and controlled the first sword of the Limitless Sword Arts. The engraved dragon blade that was pierced into the right eye of the giant rock giant immediately rotated. Like an electric drill, it rapidly rotated. A large amount of sparks and pure divine spirit chi surged out. Small pieces of broken stones splashed out. Roar! The giant rock giant became more and more painful. It became more and more irritable. It extended its huge fist and grabbed the rotating engraved dragon blade. Then, it pulled it out and ruthlessly threw it towards Su Yun. The sword spun a few times in the air, and then quickly shot back towards the giant rock giant. Dong! How sharp was the engraved dragon blade that was wrapped in pure divine spirit chi! However, when it flew towards the body of the giant rock giant, it only left a shallow dent on the surface of its skin before it bounced off. It didn't hurt nor itch. The giant rock giant took a step forward and rushed towards Su-yun. It intended to tear this daring person into pieces. Seeing this, Su-yun immediately retreated and kept a distance from the giant rock giant. At the same time, he began to control the engraved dragon blade to attack. He did not dare to disperse his attacks. Instead, he focused on one point and repeatedly bombarded it. At first, it was only a relatively shallow dent. However, after a series of attacks, it gradually became obvious. One day later, Su Family Outer Sect Plaza. At this moment, there were a large number of people gathered here. Apart from a few inner sect disciples, the rest were all outer sect disciples. In the plaza, the inner sect steward, Su Shilong, was examining the people present. Everyone quieted down and did not dare to make a sound. They were waiting for the steward to speak. After a round, Su Shilong nodded his head and said, "Who else has not arrived?" Reporting to the steward, except for Suda, Su Xian Lu and a few others who have not yet returned from their mission, everyone else has returned. A person in charge came forward and said respectfully, "Suda, Su Xian Lu and the others should be back soon." Someone next to him added, "Yes." Su Shilong nodded and did not say anything. "Steward, Su-yun has not returned." At this time, someone shouted, "Su-yun?" Su Shilong raised his eyebrows. Where did he go? The outer sect person in charge quickly said respectfully, reporting to the master, "I do not know where he went." "You did not send him to perform a mission?" Su Shilong asked. "No, the outer sect does not restrict him from going out. At this moment, we do not know where Su-yun went. However, you have issued an urgent call for outer sect personnel. I believe he will come back soon." "Come back?" Su Shilong sneered. "I am such a big Su family. How can there be a rice bucket like Su-yun?" The person in charge did not dare to speak and only lowered his head. Su Shilong shouted again, "All of you listen, this time's mission is an important mission from the main house. It will be used as a trial for all of you. Every one of you must participate. Anyone who refuses to participate will be punished according to the Su family's rules and will be expelled from the Su family. Do you understand?" "Yes, master," the outer sect disciples shouted. "Very good." Su Shilong nodded. "This time's mission is to prepare 1,000 blood jade crystals for the main house. This item is produced in our Su family's forbidden area, Martial Bone Mountain. In order to coordinate with this mission, Martial Bone Mountain will be open tomorrow. Later, everyone can go to the inner sect warehouse to receive 20 blood stasis pills, 10 spirit chi regeneration pills, 5 poison avoidance pills, 10 stomach satiation pills, and also a number of weapons provided by the inner sect. Once you obtain the blood jade crystals, you can exchange them for contribution points. One crystal is worth 5 contribution points. If you obtain 500 contribution points, you will be qualified to enter the inner sect. You can do your best." As soon as these words fell, the entire outer sect square became silent. Martial Bone Mountain. The Su family's forbidden area. The Martial Bone Mountain where the Su family's patriarchs are buried? This place is actually open to us? This Martial Bone Mountain is very dangerous. It is rumored that the mountain is filled with poisonous miasma and there are countless powerful beasts. The weakest beast is at least a 3rd stage spirit intermediate disciple. If we enter Martial Bone Mountain, wouldn't it be a one-way trip? My God, Master, this mission, if we go, isn't it incomparably dangerous? After the silence, the outer sect disciples immediately broke out. All kinds of doubts, worries, doubts, and fear emerged. The scene was very lively and people's emotions gradually became excited. Silence. A cold voice sounded. Then, a mist-like spirit aura surged out and covered the entire square. Everyone couldn't help but shiver and they all stopped shouting. The square immediately quieted down, and no one dared to make a sound. Su Long majestically glanced at the entire square. His eyes were cold, as if he wanted to swallow these people alive. After a moment, he opened his mouth and shouted, "These are the people from the main house. Our inner sect does not have enough manpower, so we ask you to participate. I don't care what methods you use, and I don't care what you think. Tomorrow you must all enter Marshall Bone Mountain. Within 10 days, you must obtain 1,000 blood jade crystals. However, you do not have to worry about any safety issues. Our inner sect will arrange 17 experts to lead the team. You can choose which team to follow. With the inner sect experts leading the team, what do you have to worry about? Well, this time's trial will officially begin. Everyone, immediately prepare." "Yes, Master." The people responded with a tepid response. Although Su Long's words were very pleasant to hear, the outer sect disciples were not fools. The main house had given the mission to the inner sect, but the inner sect disciples felt that it was too dangerous. They directly threw it to the outer sect, and let the outer sect disciples take the risk to go to Marshall Bone Mountain to obtain the blood jade crystals. The outer sect disciples' lives were not worth anything. Plus, Su Long had the authority to do so, so they had this trial. Even though they knew that Su Long deliberately wanted everyone to risk their lives for him, everyone seemed to be helpless. In the Su family, other than the main house, no one dared to refute Su Long's words. Fortunately, the inner sect had at least a dozen experts to lead the team. Otherwise, if the outer sect disciples went to Marshall Bone Mountain, they would not be completely annihilated, but at least 7 or 8 of them would die. With the experts leading the team, they could at least fight against the vicious beast. The people dispersed and went to the warehouse to receive the supplies that Su Long had prepared for them. Yes. At this time, Su Long suddenly called out to the outer sect steward who was preparing to leave. "Master, do you have any other orders?" the outer sect steward quickly asked. Outer sect disciple Su Yun delayed the Su family's important matters. As a punishment, when he participates in this trial, other than the most basic poison avoidance pill and stomach-filling pill, he will not be given any other items. If he refuses to participate in this trial, immediately according to the crime of rebelling against the Su family, his cultivation will be abolished. "Do you understand?" Su Long said. When the outer sect steward heard this, he immediately froze. "Did you not hear it clearly? Do you need me to repeat it?" No. This little one is very clear," the steward quickly said. Su Long lightly snorted and turned to leave. At this moment, at the edge of the square, "Xingyang, where did Big Brother Su Yun go? You have to quickly find a way to contact him. This trial must be participated, otherwise you will be punished." Xin Yu anxiously said to her brother. "I will ask someone to find him." Xingyang touched the back of his head and said, "You must let him participate in the trial, otherwise he will be finished." Chapter 47. 5 Colored Rocky Grounds. Dang 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 dang. A long sword that danced around like a fairy was circling around a huge stone giant. The flying sword rotated quickly, constantly bombarding the vital points of the giant. Although the stone giant was a few meters tall, it was extremely hard. However, at this time, the rock on its body was cracked. A large number of cracks spread out like a spider web on its body. The stone giant's pace was getting slower, as if it was an arrow at the end of its flight. However, Su Yun, who was controlling the flying sword, was also not feeling well. The profound spirit core pills were all eaten, and the pure divine spirit aura in his body was almost exhausted. Although the flying sword flew smoothly, it was not easy to control it. First of all, the pure divine spirit aura wrapped around the flying sword must not be lacking. Once the pure divine spirit aura was sparse, the flying sword would lose its power, and it would be difficult to maintain its flight. Secondly, The flying sword must be controlled within the range of the pure divine spirit aura. Otherwise, if it left the range, the pure divine spirit aura would not be able to wrap around the flying sword, and the sword would immediately fall. Finally, it was about the sword's killing moves. This required a high level of proficiency in the pure divine spirit aura, using the chi to change the sword's attacking position. Currently, Su Yun only knew how to stab, cut, and chop. He certainly could not use the flying sword to release a mystical technique. This was only the first sword of the limitless sword arts. Imagine controlling dozens of swords, or hundreds of swords. How difficult would that be? No wonder the Almighty of the Limitless Sword sect were only able to practice the first few swords. Su Yun was gasping for breath. While running, he was controlling the flying sword. Sweat fell from his face like raindrops. The chi in his body was almost exhausted, but the giant stone giant did not show any signs of falling. Su Yun was slightly anxious. He saved every bit of pure divine spirit aura and used it to bombard the opponent. Finally, the engraved dragon blade swayed. Su Yun did not have the slightest bit of pure divine spirit aura. His chi was exhausted and he was half dead. He did not even have much strength left to run. "Brat, you can't hold on any longer." The sword elder's voice came out at this time. "I never thought that this giant stone giant's vitality would be so tenacious. I almost killed it for an entire day, but it still did not fall." Su Yun almost sat on the ground as he said one word at a time. "Who asked you to be so arrogant? How can you kill an existence that's so much stronger than you?" The sword elder chuckled and said, "Fine, let this old man help you." "Help?" Su Yun was startled. At this time, he felt the limitless sword arts in his storage ring suddenly tremble. Su Yun immediately took it out. Just then, he felt a large amount of dense and sharp spirit chi surging out from the sword manual. The spirit chi seemed to be alive, piercing into Su Yun's palm and quickly entering his body, filling up his dried-up chi meridians. Pure divine aura. Su Yun narrowed his eyes. It is not easy for this old man to condense a bit of pure divine spirit chi. "Brat, you must remember to thank me," the sword elder said half-jokingly, even though his voice was beginning to weaken. "Su Yun will never forget Senior's kindness," Su Yun said seriously. As the aura flowed into his body, he recovered 30% of his strength. His chi meridians were nourished, and his battle prowess had also recovered. Su Yun took a deep breath, raised his right hand, and released a thick pure divine aura. It spread and wrapped around the engraved dragon blade. With the sword under control, it immediately regained its sharpness. However, it did not attack the giant rock warrior. Instead, it spun and returned to Su Yun's hand. Su Yun took a step forward and rushed towards the giant rock warrior, directly fighting it head-on. "Gotcha!" The sound of stone breaking rang out. The huge giant rock warrior's thick body gradually split open, turning into pieces of desolate stones that fell to the ground. Among them, a walnut-sized stone that emitted a pale yellow light fell together with the stone. Compared to the yellow gravel, this small stone was very conspicuous. Su Yun, who was gasping for breath, was finally relieved. He dragged his exhausted and weak body over and picked up the stone. "It really is the giant rock spirit core. Great." Su Yun wiped the sweat from his forehead and said happily, "Finally, this old man did not work in vain. I have to go rest." The sword elder was also relieved. As soon as he finished speaking, he vanished without a trace. Su Yun hung the giant rock spirit core on the limitless sword sheath. He put the engraved dragon blade back into the sword sheath. After tidying up a bit, he turned around and returned. Back in the city, he mounted the spirit stallion and directly rushed towards the Su family. The Su family disciple order was the simplest tool that the Su family used to communicate with their clansmen. If the disciple order emitted a red light, it meant that the Su family had issued an important mission that required all the disciples to rush back. If the disciple order emitted a yellow light, it meant that the Su family had designated a person to rush back. Generally, this order was issued by the inner sect. If it was issued by the main sect, it would be a white light. It was not as simple as just emitting light. Even the voice of the patriarch could be transmitted through the disciple order into the ears of the holder. No one knew who made this disciple order, but they were all made by the almighty hands of the Su family. This kind of mystical technique that involved the void was something that even a spirit Xian soul Xian could not master. Rushing back to the Su family was already a day later. Su Yun rode on the tall spirit stallion and changed into his black blade master clothes. Carrying the sword sheath, he walked onto the bronze road of the Su family's outer sect. The hooves of the spirit stallion knocked on the ground and issued a ji-deng-deng-deng sound. Su Yun rode the spirit stallion back to his residence. Along the way, he saw that both sides of the street were deserted. There were not many people. He could only see a few middle-aged or elderly people. Su Yun's heart was suspicious. Where was the person? Isn't this Su Yun? At this time, a middle-aged man carrying a pole came over. Seeing Su Yun riding on the spirit stallion, his face revealed a surprised look. You actually rode a spirit stallion? Did you make a fortune outside? It's Uncle Su Ji. Su Yun laughed. I did not make a fortune. A spirit stallion is not worth much money. Oh. Su Ji did not ask any further. Instead, he looked worried and said, But then again, why did you only come back now? All the young disciples of the outer sect have gone to Marshall Bone Mountain to participate in the trial, yet you are still here. I heard that when the inner sect steward Su Shilong announced the trial, he specifically mentioned you. Because you were not here, he was preparing to punish you. You'd better quickly go to our outer sect steward and plead for leniency. Let him forgive your crime. Go to Marshall Bone Mountain trial? Su Yun was surprised. That is the Su family's forbidden area. There are countless vicious beasts there. How could Su Shilong let the outer sect disciples go there to cultivate? Isn't that just sending them to their deaths? You don't have to worry about this. Su Ji smiled and said, It is said that there are experts from the inner sect leading the group. Those kids are very safe, nothing to worry about. Is that so? Su Yun was still worried. Marshall Bone Mountain was the Su family's forbidden area. It was said that after every patriarch of the Su family died, they would be buried in Marshall Bone Mountain. Some people said that Marshall Bone Mountain had a lot of treasures, cultivation techniques, and pills. If you could find them, you could enjoy them for a lifetime. Marshall Bone Mountain was generally not open to the public. Why did the inner sect suddenly open it this time? Su Yun recalled the events of his previous life. However, after thinking about it, he did not have any memories of this. He could not help but clench his fists. His heart was filled with regret. No memories of this? Why? Because in his previous life, at this time, Su Yun was completely drunk. He had missed this trial, and knew nothing about this matter in this life. He must not repeat the same mistakes. He must not be decadent again. Uncle Su Ji, how long have they been in Marshall Bone Mountain? Su Yun took a deep breath and asked. He went in early this morning. It's been half a day. Su Ji rubbed his stubbled chin and said thoughtfully. Su Yun nodded and lifted the reins. After saying goodbye to Su Ji, he rode his spirit stallion back to his hut. He did not intend to find the outer sect steward. Marshall Bone Mountain was too dangerous. If he could not go, it would be for the best. Even if there were experts from the inner sect leading the team, it would not be easy. Not to mention that most of the team had already gone in for half a day. He could not find any experts from the inner sect to protect him. If he went into Marshall Bone Mountain alone, it would be no different than courting death. Su Yun. At this moment, a loud voice sounded. Su Yun pulled his spirit stallion and stopped. He looked at the direction of the voice. He saw that in front of him on the street, there was a row of armed guards wearing black helmets. These guards were from the outer sect's security team. They were part of the patrol team. They quickly ran over and surrounded Su Yun without saying a word. "Dismount!" the leader of the guards shouted. Su Yun frowned. He looked at the 8th ninth stage spirit novice disciples and thought for a moment. Then he turned over and dismounted his horse. "Come with us!" the guard shouted. "Where to?" "We are going to see the steward." When Su Yun heard this, he did not say anything. 2 guards quickly came over and wanted to take Su Yun away. However, just as their hands touched Su Yun's shoulder, they were suddenly pushed back by a sudden burst of power. The 2 guards were shocked and retreated. The 2 guards looked at Su Yun in shock. They saw him holding his horse and whispered, "I can go by myself." Several guards looked at each other and then looked at the captain. The captain nodded with a dignified face. The guards did not move. In this way, Su Yun was taken away when he just arrived at the Su family. But what was surprising was that the group of guards that blocked Su Yun did not take him to the outer sect government office. Instead, they directly led him away from the outer sect and towards the direction of Marshall Bone Mountain. Su Yun was puzzled. "Where are you taking me?" "Marshall Bone Mountain," the captain of the guards coldly said. "Marshall Bone Mountain? Are you sure you didn't make a mistake?" "Mistake? How is that possible? Hurry up." The guards seemed to be too lazy to explain and loudly urged. Su Yun calmed down and endured his doubts. He temporarily cooperated with them, but his hand was already secretly on his waist. Once there was a situation, the sword sheath would immediately activate and release the engraved dragon blade. About an hour later, the guards took Su Yun to the south of the Su family's mountain range. This mountain was gloomy and hazy. The sky above the mountain was dark all year round. There were huge and thick trees on the mountain. The trees were so dense that the wind could not pass through. Looking from the outside, the whole mountain was dark. It was very scary, especially the smell. A disgusting rancid smell floated from the mountain, making people feel uncomfortable. At the foot of the mountain, in front of the road, there were rows of armored guards. Behind the guards, there was a huge enchantment. The enchantment sealed all the entrances around the mountain. In front of these guards, the outer sect steward was waiting for Su Yun. Chapter 48. Su Yun had forgotten the name of the outer sect's steward. He only knew that he was a slick old man. The outer sect's mission rewards were almost all embezzled by him. He was mean, stingy. The outer sect disciples of the Su family called him an old fox. The steward narrowed his eyes at Su Yun. His bark-like old face chuckled. "You finally came, young Master Su Yun." Su Yun walked over and looked at the steward. He looked at the enchantment barrier and asked, "I don't know why the steward brought me here? What else can I do? Master Su Shilong ordered me to send you to Marshall Bone Mountain to participate in the trial." "Participate in the trial?" Su Yun was surprised. The family trial is a big event. It is open to all the inner and outer sect disciples. There are countless benefits in the trial. "What? Don't you want to participate?" The steward stared at him. "Of course not," Su Yun truthfully said. "Presumptuous." The old fox's face changed. He shouted, "You are an outer sect disciple and you still want to refuse the main house's mission? To tell you the truth, because you did not return to the family in time, as a punishment, you will not be able to receive the supplies provided by Master Su Shilong. You can only receive 5 poison avoidance pills and 10 fruit stomach pills. Quickly go in. Master Su Shilong said that you must participate in the trial. You must not stay out of it. Right now I am the only one." Su Yun's eyes flashed with a trace of anger. "I am only a spirit novice disciple. Entering Marshall Bone Mountain alone is simply courting death. Moreover, the supplies are only these. Do you want me to come here without returning? So, you don't want to go in?" The old fox steward narrowed his eyes and said in a strange voice. Seeing this, Su Yun's heart felt bad. He tentatively asked, "If I don't go in, What will you do?" "What?" The old fox said. "Master Su Long has already given a clear order. You must participate in this trial. You must enter Marshall Bone Mountain. If you do not enter, if you disobey Master Su Long's order, you will be punished for rebelling against the Su family. You will immediately be crippled of your cultivation." As soon as his voice fell, the guards of the Marshall Bone Mountain immediately stepped forward and surrounded Su Yun. As the protectors of the Su family's forbidden grounds, they were all above the 5th stage of the spirit intermediate disciple realm. They were powerful and unfathomable. Currently, Su Yun could not possibly defeat these existences. Su Yun thought for a moment, then he looked up and said, "If that's the case, then fine, I will go to Marshall Bone Mountain. But before that, can I go to the store to buy some necessities?" "No, you can only have these 2 pills. Don't prepare anything else." The old fox chuckled. Su Yun's heart was filled with anger, but he did not show it on his face. He reached out his hand and grabbed the 2 bottles of pills that the old fox was holding. Without saying a word, he headed towards Marshall Bone Mountain. "Open the barrier!" the old cunning fox shouted. "Caw!" A strange sound rang out. A 2-meter-wide crack appeared on the azure barrier. Su Yun's footsteps were somewhat hesitant, but in the end, he still walked in. "Brat, when you were in the inner sect, Master Su did not like you. Now that you are in the outer sect, you are still so arrogant. You even dared to kill Master Dongfang's people. Let's see how Master Su Long plays with you." The old fox stared at Su Yun's back as he left. The corner of his mouth curled up into a sinister smile. Soon, there was no trace of Su Yun. The old fox turned around and was about to leave. Whoosh! At this time, the sound of something breaking through the air suddenly burst out from the Marshall Bone Mountain's enchantment and headed straight for him. "Master, be careful!" the guard next to him shouted. The old fox turned around to look and was suddenly frightened. He only saw a slender flying sword flying towards him. The sword's body was slender like the autumn water. It was cold and threatening. On the sword body, there was a ferocious and terrifying mark of a flood dragon. When people saw it, they felt their scalp go numb. It was very uncomfortable. The old fox's legs went soft, and he quickly retreated in fear. He was just a steward of the outer sect. Moreover, he was old and his cultivation was not high. When had he ever seen such a powerful killing technique? The armored soldiers had never seen such a ruthless flying sword before. What's more, the sword was flying. Was this the Immortal Sword Sect's Imperial Sword Technique? However, the Immortal Sword Sect's Imperial Sword Technique could only allow people to fly. When could it be used to kill people? As the flying sword was about to pierce the old fox's heart, a sinister aura rippled out. "Don't hurt the master." One of the guards was quick to react. He was not shocked by this strange attack. He immediately jumped from the side and slashed at the flying sword. The flying sword was constantly spinning in the air, but it did not fall. Instead, it turned towards the old fox as if it had a life of its own. This strange phenomenon was something that no one had expected. The old fox could not dodge in time. One of his arms was cut off. Blood spurted out and he rolled on the ground a few times. He screamed again and again as his face turned pale. The other guards also recovered. Seeing this situation, how could they dare to be in a daze? They quickly rushed over and slashed at the strange flying sword. However, the flying sword spun a few times in the air. After it stabilized, it returned to the direction of Marshall Bone Mountain. Before the enchantment closed, it flew in and disappeared. Bada! Su Yun stretched out his hand and grabbed the blood-stained engraved dragon blade. He looked at the old fox that had fainted due to the severe pain. He turned around and walked towards the depths of Marshall Bone Mountain. Marshall Bone Mountain, one of the Su family's biggest forbidden grounds. Just after entering Marshall Bone Mountain, he had to swallow a poison pill. This high-level poison pill provided by the Su family could last for a whole day. However, relying on this pill was obviously not enough. Currently, he had nothing. The items in his storage ring were useless here. If he went deeper into Marshall Bone Mountain, he was afraid that his fate would be very miserable. Since this was the case, he would not go deeper. He just needed to wait at the edge of the mountain. When the trial was over, he would leave. As for the blood jade crystal, he did not care about it. Anyway, he did not expect to rely on it to enter the inner sect. After making his plan, Su Yun found a big stone at the edge and sat cross-legged. From the 5-colored cliff to here, the road was bumpy. He did not have time to recover his spirit lord aura. Now, he could finally take a breather. The sun gradually set and the day quickly passed. Throughout the day, apart from the sounds of explosions and screams coming from Marshall Bone Mountain, nothing strange happened. His spirit lord aura was quickly restored. However, Su Yun did not dare to cultivate his spirit lord aura here. Once his spirit lord aura was used up, something unexpected would happen. Since he had nothing to do, Su Yun took out the heavenly crystal and observed it. The heavenly crystal had already been used once in the Gu Xie Xin sect, so it was still recovering. After 50 days, nearly a month had passed. The heavenly crystal had also been restored by 80%. Suddenly, Su Yun's mind flashed with an idea. Restore energy? If the heavenly crystal could not be used because of a lack of energy, then, if he took the initiative to inject energy into it, could it speed up its recovery? With this amazing idea in mind, Su Yun hesitated for a long time. He wanted to ask the Sword Elder, but the Sword Elder was sleeping in the Limitless Sword Arts. Killing the giant rock general had given him a lot of energy, so it would be inconvenient to disturb him again. After thinking about it again and again, he decided to give it a try. Putting the heavenly crystal in his hand, Su Yun fiercely took a deep breath. His other hand covered the small black stone. He settled his mind and began to gently urge his spirit lord aura and inject it into the stone. Shio! The sound of a rocket shuttling suddenly burst out from the heavenly crystal. Su Yun's whole body slightly trembled. His 5 fingertips seemed to be bitten by something. It was difficult for him to break free from the heavenly crystal. The chi channels that released the heavenly crystal were also forcibly opened. A large amount of Spirit Lord aura was instilled into the heavenly crystal. Su Yun was shocked. He hastily withdrew his right hand and threw the heavenly crystal to the ground. However, the moment his hand left the heavenly crystal, he instantly fell to the ground. His whole body did not have the slightest bit of strength. His body was abnormally weak, as if he was seriously ill. What is going on? Su Yun weakly looked at the heavenly crystal that was becoming darker and darker. His heart was full of doubts. With difficulty, he sat cross-legged on the ground and recovered a little bit of his energy. He picked up the heavenly crystal and carefully looked at it for a moment. He saw that the energy within the heavenly crystal had actually recovered a little. Was it really effective? However, in an instant, he was only able to recover a little energy. If he wanted to fill up the entire heavenly crystal, how much spirit aura would he need? Right now, his only life-saving treasure was the heavenly crystal. He did not have many cards up his sleeve. The everlasting stone could only be used for cultivation. As for the limitless sword arts, he had only seen the first sword. He was still very unfamiliar with it, so it was best not to deal with those big shot. Exhaling, Su Yun carefully put away the heavenly crystal. Of course, he did not dare to inject any more chi into the heavenly crystal. If he was not careful, he might end up being sucked dry. After cultivating on the boulder for a night, his spirit lord aura was finally restored by 30%. At night, the entire Marshall Bone Mountain was dark and frightening. The sky was hazy, and the light from the moon and stars could not penetrate through. Human eyesight was extremely poor, so it was not wise to act at night. Therefore, throughout the night, there was no movement in Marshall Bone Mountain. Even the roars of the beasts had lessened. It was almost dawn. Bang 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 bang. A series of explosions awakened Su Yun, who was sitting cross-legged on the boulder. Su Yun suddenly opened his eyes and looked up the mountain. The sound of the explosion was not far from where he was. From where he was, he could see the dark mountainside. More than a dozen trees had fallen. A little bit of swift wind spirit chi mixed with the rancid smell of Marshall Bone Mountain drifted over. Was it the Su family's disciple? He was afraid that they had encountered a beast. However, it could also be a civil strife. The main house had issued a task to the inner sect. Su Shilong, the steward of the inner sect, had the qualifications to enter the inner sect. Although Marshall Bone Mountain was dangerous, the reward was extremely attractive. How could the outer sect disciples not fight for it? Although 1,000 blood jade crystals was not much, the conservative estimate of the Marshall Bone Mountain's production of blood jade crystals was less than 2,000 pieces. Excluding some extremely dangerous places, the Su family could only collect 1,000 pieces. Su Shilong was not a simple character. These disciples from the inner sect were probably also promised benefits by him. For the sake of benefits, people would do all kinds of unimaginable things. For example, killing people to obtain blood jade crystals. Voila! At this time, the grass on the side of the boulder suddenly emitted a burst of rustling sounds. Then, a few figures rushed out. Su Yun's nerves jumped. He immediately pulled out the engraved dragon blade. His eyes were like a cheetah as he stared vigilantly at the people rushing out. He only saw 3 men and 2 women covered in blood. They were gasping for breath as they rushed out. They seemed to be escaping. Each of them had a lot of blood jade crystals in their hands. Among them, there was a man wearing a yellow robe and a woman wearing a red long-sleeved robe. Their eyes were filled with a strong killing intent. The weapons in their hands were stained with dark red blood. Marshall Bone Mountain was a place where most of the beasts were dark beasts. They were similar to monsters. Their blood was either black or blue. There were very few red beasts. Therefore, the blood on these 2 men's weapons was most likely human blood. The 5 people rushed out. When they saw Su Yun on the boulder, they were stunned for a moment. But soon, the man wearing the yellow robe had a murderous look in his eyes. He lifted the ring blade in his hand and gently walked towards Su Yun. Su Yun's eyes widened. This motherf asterisk cur. Chapter 49. Seeing Su Yun jump off the boulder, he happily said, I finally found the group. Brothers and sisters, Su Yun is here to greet you. Su Yun? The red-sleeved woman was surprised. You are that trash Su Yun. That's me. Su Yun nodded. Why are you here alone? Where's your team? The yellow-clothed man stopped and whispered. Dead. Dead. The 5 people were stunned. How did he die? Killed by the green-robed demon. Green-robed demon? The 5 people shivered at the same time. Their faces were full of horror as they looked around. A spirit core disciple cultivator? How could it appear here? The yellow-clothed man's eyes were full of horror as he quickly asked, Where did you meet it? Here. Su Yun said. This? Yes, behind you. Su Yun suddenly said with a look of fear. The few nervous people immediately looked back, but there was nothing behind him. The yellow-clothed man quickly turned his eyes and saw Su Yun suddenly jump over the boulder behind him. Su Yun ran deep into the mountain. Ran away? The 5 people were stunned. The yellow-clothed man's face turned red and white. He knew that he was played by Su Yun. He was extremely annoyed. He gritted his teeth and said, Chase. Wait. The red-sleeved woman quickly said, He is just a waste. I don't think he has any blood jade crystals on him. Chasing him is meaningless. We killed the inner sect disciple, so we can't enter the depths of Marshall Bone Mountain. If we meet a powerful beast, we will be annihilated. Why don't we just wander around the mountain and catch a few fat fish? Then we will wait for the end of the day and go out to complete the task. Wouldn't that be better? Sister Hong is right, we have already obtained enough blood jade crystals. We do not need to take any more risks, we can just casually fish some more, don't throw our lives away. I heard that the other teams are also starting to kill anyone they see. Maybe they have promised the inner sect disciples some benefits. If we meet them, we will not be able to fight them." The yellow-clothed man heard this, and endured the anger in his heart. He nodded and said, "That's good. We will wander around the periphery. But if we meet Su Yun, don't listen to his nonsense. We will directly kill him." "I will help you kill him," Red Sister said. Su Yun, who took the opportunity to escape, did not rush towards the outer regions of the mountains, but went in the opposite direction and went to the mountain path that the 5 people came down from. Following the mountain path, he quickened his pace and headed towards the place where the explosion had occurred. Although these 5 people were outer sect disciples, their auras were very strong. Among them, the man in the suit and the woman in the red sleeves were both at the 10th stage of the spirit novice realm. The others were also at the 9th stage of the spirit novice realm. Their spirit attributes were unknown. If he were to fight them head-on, it would be difficult for him to win with only half of his pure divine spirit chi. Carefully approaching the explosion point, Su Yun was not in a hurry to go over. Instead, he hid in the bushes at the side, vigilantly watching his surroundings, waiting for time. The explosion site was now full of potholes, and the ground was covered in blood. Several broken corpses lay on the ground. There were men and women, and all of them had died miserably. Some of the corpses were even headless. After waiting for the time it took for a stick of incense to burn, Su Yun saw that the surroundings were still very quiet. Then, he rushed out and quickly ran towards the corpses. The man in the suit and the red sleeves fled to Su Yun's location not long after the explosion. Presumably, they were worried that the explosion would attract other teams. These 5 people were all injured, and their condition was not good. They were not afraid to deal with Su Yun, but if they encountered another team, it would be terrible. Therefore, they only took the blood jade crystals and ran. Su Yun also guessed that they did not have the time to take the things from these people, so he boldly turned back to take the inheritance of the dead people. These dead people's bodies were black, as if they had been poisoned. Moreover, there were holes in their back. Su Yun was afraid that the 5 men in the suit had sneak attacked them from behind. However, what made Su Yun surprised was that among these dead people, there was actually an inner sect disciple. Looking at the badge on the man's waist, Su Yun was really surprised. He actually dared to sneak attack an inner sect disciple. He was really bold. He didn't dare to delay any longer and searched through these corpses. He obtained quite a number of poison prevention pills and satiety pills, so it wouldn't be a problem for him to last for 10 days. Besides that, there were also over 20 energy recovery pills, 17 healing pills, a low-grade invisibility talisman, and an escape scroll. The supplies on his body were sparse, but with these things, he would be able to survive. The rest of the items were of little value, so Su Yun did not take them. These people could not afford to use the storage ring, so the items were hung on their waist. After stuffing everything into the storage ring, Su Yun hurriedly left the place. Many people died here. Even if it did not attract the other teams of the Su family, he was afraid that it would not be long before a large number of vicious beasts would be attracted. Su Yun returned to the original path, intending to continue to stay around Marshall Bone Mountain. However, just as he arrived at the foot of the mountain, the sound of people fighting floated over. At the foot of the mountain, there was a large number of ripples. Then, he heard a cold snort. Su Xian Yuan, you have a lot of guts. You actually dared to attack us. What? You want the blood jade crystals in our hands? Humph, you have to have the ability to take it. Su Hong Xiu, I was really blind. I actually trusted a snake and scorpion like you. Good. Good. Since you are in cahoots with Su Xian Yuan. That's good. Today, I will send you people on your way. If you want to fight, then fight. Why are you talking so much nonsense? After a few words, the fierce fighting sound rang out again. Su Yun heard this and rolled his eyes a few times. Then, he took out an invisibility talisman and held it in his hand. He quietly approached the place where the fight was taking place. As he approached, what a coincidence! The 3 men and 2 women who were preparing to kill Su Yun unexpectedly encountered another team of 4 people. At this moment, these 9 people were fighting together. Judging from the conversation just now, it seemed that Su Xianyuan was acquainted with this 4-man squad. However, Su Xianyuan and Su Hongxiu were also ruthless and merciless people. They actually attacked these 4 people in order to kill them and seize the crystals. However, these 4 people were also vigilant, so they didn't succeed. Su Xianyuan and the red-clothed woman, Su Hongxiu, were both 10th stage spirit novice disciples. The other 4 people were only 9th stage spirit novice disciples, so there was a gap in their cultivation level. However, Su Xianyuan and the other 4 people had been fighting for a long time, so they had consumed a lot of their qi. Their condition was not good, so it was not easy to kill them. The 2 sides were deadlocked at the foot of the mountain. Seeing this, Su Yun began to ponder. Although he had killed Su Kuang during the competition and was banned from the competition, this did not mean that he could not enter the inner sect. However, Su Shilong seemed to be biased against him. Entering the inner sect would not be peaceful. Even if he seized the blood jade crystals, it would not be of much use, unless Su Yun suddenly thought of a good idea. Perhaps he did not need to enter the inner sect. Letting others enter the inner sect would also be convenient for him. Thinking of this, he calmed down and quietly took out the engraved dragon blade from his storage ring. After thinking for a moment, he also took out the mask that he used in the Guxia Xin school and put it on his face. Half of the mask was broken, so it could only cover half of his face, but it was enough. The Su family clearly forbade disciples from killing each other. However, in this trial, as long as no one knew, it was fine to kill. Su Yun could not guarantee that he would be able to kill all of the opponents, so he had to cover his identity. Otherwise, if he did not kill the opponents, then it would be troublesome to leave Martial Bone Mountain. He was wearing a black blade master robe with the limitless sword sheath hanging on his back. His face was covered with half a mask, and his shoulder-length hair fluttered in the wind. Su Yun hid behind a clump of weeds and vigilantly stared at the fight. At the same time, he secretly paid attention to both sides. His hiding position was aimed at the left and right, not the front and back. The people in front of him were already fighting fiercely, so they did not pay attention to their surroundings. Therefore, he did not need to hide, but he must pay attention to his left and right. If a fight broke out here, it might attract other teams. Therefore, once other teams approached, he must leave as soon as possible. Fortunately, there were not many teams at the edge of Martial Bone Mountain, so there was no movement around. Poochie! A muffled sound rang out. He saw that in the team of 4, a handsome man's shoulder had been hit by a blade. His entire arm was almost cut off. The severe pain made his white face even paler. The man hastily retreated. He wanted to temporarily avoid the pursuit of his opponent, Su Xianyuan. However, Su Xianyuan seemed to be on drugs at the moment. He crazily used his blade techniques and a large amount of profound spirit qi to cut towards the man. "Brother Xiao, be careful!" A woman wearing a dark green robe on the side shouted. She clasped a ring bell and waved the blade qi. The ring bell seemed to be of a different grade. It easily broke the blade qi and broke the man's siege. However, it was 4 against 5. They were already at a disadvantage in terms of numbers. As soon as the woman in the dark green robe broke the siege, the opponent's sword came piercing over. Like snow and ice, the sword swayed and swayed. Everyone felt a chill in front of their eyes. Qi! Oh, the woman in the dark green robe trembled slightly. Her heart was pierced by the sword. Han Xiang! Su Zhao's eyes widened as he watched the woman in front of him spill blood. Her body slowly softened and her mind went blank. You actually killed Sister Xiang. I will fight you." The eyes of the other two men turned red. Grief and anger welled up in their hearts at the same time. They both roared and rushed over recklessly. "You overestimate yourself. Even if we are injured, killing you is still very easy." Su Hongxiu sneered. The dagger in her hand met the two men who rushed over. The handsome man clutched his arm in pain. Looking at the dead Su Hongxiang, tears fell from his eyes. A man does not easily shed tears. It is only when he is sad. What could be more sad than the death of a loved one? If it was an ordinary person, how could they endure this? They would have already rushed forward and fought with their lives on the line. However, Su Xiao retreated a few steps. His face was ferocious. He gritted his teeth so hard that they almost broke. He painfully looked at his two companions who were still fighting with Su Xianyuan and Su Hongxiu. Finally, he suddenly turned around and ran away in pain. Su Xiao. The two men noticed Su Xiao's escape and were stunned. At this critical moment, he actually ran away. "Ha ha ha ha, this is your good companion. In a time of crisis, he ran away first. Su Hongxiang died for him in vain. What a pity!" "Ha ha!" Su Xianyuan laughed. "No. We believe in Su Xiao." At this time, one of the men suddenly clenched his teeth. His face was cold, and there was not much hatred in his eyes. "Brother Su Xiao knows that he is not your opponent. If we continue to fight, we will all die. Instead of that, it is better to run away. In the future, Brother Su Xiao will definitely help us get revenge," the other man said. The two men seemed to understand Su Xiao's approach. However, they did not retreat and continued to fight. Their purpose was obvious. They wanted to stall Su Xianyuan and the others for Su Xiao. Even though in the end, they still could not escape the fate of being killed. Su Xiao turned his head from afar. Looking at the scene here, his eyes overflowed with tears. But at this moment, he could not care so much. Only by keeping his life could he take revenge. Only then could he avenge Han Xiang, Su Luo and Su Jian. Only by staying alive could he take revenge. Su Xiao clenched his fists and resolutely turned around. But he had just turned around when a tall and slender figure silently stood in front of him. "You want to run away?" a voice sounded. Su Xiao's nerves trembled. He retreated again and asked in astonishment, "Who are you?" "Limitless." The voice sounded again. Chapter 50. Limitless Sword God? Su Xiao's eyes were dull as he looked at the man in front of him. He was wearing a black Blade Master outfit and his face was covered with a broken iron mask. "Why did you escape?" the man asked. Su Xiao clenched his fists and turned his face away. He did not want to let the man called Limitless Sword God see his tears. He said with hatred, "Even with me, it is impossible to defeat Su Xianyuan. Not to mention, my arm is already crippled. If we continue, we will be annihilated. Only by preserving our lives can we take revenge. Now we don't have to wait for 10 years. Follow me and kill," Limitless Sword God shouted. He suddenly took a step and ran towards Su Xianyuan. "Kill?" Su Xiao was stunned. He anxiously observed the aura of the man called Limitless Sword God. He felt that this aura was fierce and sharp. It was similar to the swift wind spirit chi. However, this aura seemed to be faster than the swift wind spirit chi. It was not a strong aura. The highest level was spirit intermediate realm. Although it was extremely thick, but could it fight against Su Xianyuan? Moreover, what was his purpose? No matter. Su Xiao clenched his teeth. The hatred in his heart was definitely the strongest among these people. Su Hongxiang's death made him almost collapse, but it did not make him lose his mind. There was no chance before, but now the opportunity had come. Su Xiao's heart tightened. His face was grim. "Han Xiang, I will believe him this time. If I can't win, I will accompany you." Determined, Su Xiao endured the heart-wrenching pain. He used his sword to cut off his crumbling arm. Holding the sword with one arm, he rushed forward. When the man called Limitless Sword God approached Su Xianyuan and the others, his hand suddenly flashed. From the sword sheath on his back, he took out a magical sword engraved with a flood dragon pattern. Looking at the sword flower, the strange aura appeared again. It covered the sword body like a cocoon. Then he raised his hand. Whoosh! The sword suddenly flew out like an arrow from a bow. It flew towards Su Xianyuan. When this fierce sword chi appeared, Su Xianyuan was aware of the person who came. Seeing the person wearing the broken mask, his face showed a little surprise, but soon he sneered, come on, your aura is not strong, I haven't killed enough." As soon as he finished speaking, he hurriedly moved a few steps to the right, shaking off Su Jian, who was fighting with him, and handed him over to Su Hongxiu, who was beside him. Then, he raised his ring saber, and spiritual energy erupted as he slashed at the sword. Dang! The sword was sent flying into the air. I've never seen anyone throw away their weapon before. You're the first. Su Xianyuan licked his chapped lips. The killing intent in his eyes was extremely strong. He held the ring blade diagonally and quickly walked towards Su Yun. The tip of the blade was pointed downwards, and the blade was covered in blood. It looked extremely terrifying. But at this moment, the man in the iron mask suddenly stopped in his tracks. He raised his hand, formed a seal with both hands, and made a few gestures. It's a mystical skill? Su Xianyuan frowned slightly. He felt that something was wrong, so he hastened his pace and rushed over. The person was getting closer and closer, the saber was getting closer and closer, the sinister and terrifying murderous aura was also getting closer and closer. But the man wearing the iron mask and carrying the sword sheath was motionless. Still. He closed his eyes. Disregarding defense? Does he have any tricks? Su Xianyuan's heart sank, but soon, he abandoned this concern. This kid is not a spirit intermediate cultivator, why should I be afraid? Kill. Whoosh! The ring blade burst out like a tiger roaring, dyed with blood, it slashed towards Su Yun's forehead. Was this slash really going to cleave this person in half? Xiao! At this moment, a sharp and swift sword intent suddenly swept over. It was as if thousands of silver needles were pricking Su Xianyuan's back. His movements were slightly stiff, and his face changed. He did not wait for the ring blade in his hand to fall, but he felt a pain in his chest. Poochie! The sword imprinted with a flood dragon pattern that was previously knocked away had actually penetrated his heart from behind. Oh! Su Xianyuan directly spat out a mouthful of blood, which splashed on the man's dark blademaster clothes. His eyes widened as he stared at the man. Suddenly, he seemed to understand something. It turned out that this person's killing move was that sword. But that sword, wasn't it knocked away? Hateful! Hateful! I'm going to kill you! Su Xianyuan used the last of his willpower, and gathered the last of his strength to chop down the sword in the air. But the man had already lifted his foot and mercilessly kicked Su Xianyuan's abdomen. Bang! Su Xianyuan was kicked away, and the piercing heart-flying sword also moved. It began to spin, and like a blender, it completely pierced Su Xianyuan's heart. A large amount of minced meat, along with internal organs and blood, sputtered in all directions, and soon, it pierced through Su Xianyuan's heart. Su Xianyuan fell to the ground, trembled a few times, and directly died. Su Hongxiu and the others, seeing this situation, were suddenly shocked. "Who are you?" Su Hongxiu screamed. But the iron-masked man simply ignored her. After killing Su Xianyuan, he rushed straight towards them, and the strange flying sword followed him. When did Su Hongxiu see this divine sword technique? She had heard of the immortal sword sect's imperial flying sword technique, but she had never heard of the imperial flying sword technique. Immediately, she stabbed Su Jian, who was like an arrow at the end of its flight, and turned to run. The other three people saw this and did not dare to hesitate. They gave up their attack and immediately fled. Although they still had the advantage in numbers, Su Hongxiu and the others had fought continuously and were riddled with scars. They were no longer suitable to face the enemy. Su Yun did not have any intention of letting them go. The engraved dragon blade, wrapped in pure divine spirit qi, was incomparably fast. It immediately approached one person and cut off his head. At this time, Su Xiao also caught up. He desperately rushed to the front of this group of people and did not care about his life to delay their footstep. Su Hongxiu did not have time to force Su Xiao away. She was cut in the shoulder by the flying sword from behind and suffered an injury. Su Xiao seized the opportunity to attack. Under the intervention of Su Yun's limitless sword technique, Su Hongxiu was also beheaded. The remaining two naturally could not escape from the sword and died one after another. The battle was over. This place was sprinkled with the blood of everyone. The smell of blood in the air even overshadowed the stench of martial bone mountain that was difficult to dissipate. Su Yun waved his hand a few times and controlled the engraved dragon blade to fly towards the sword sheath. The sword streaked through the air and quickly and accurately hit the sword sheath on his back. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared. Su Jian bled to death. Su Luo was fine, but he had lost his fighting strength. He did not know if he could survive the next few days in Martial Bone Mountain. Su Xiao looked at the corpses of Su Hongxiu and the others. His eyes were lifeless. He knelt on the ground as if he had lost all his strength. His great hatred was avenged, but what else could he do? Everything was irreversible. Su Yun glanced at him and did not say anything. He began to clean up the battlefield. He took all the blood jade crystals from Su Hongxiu and Su Xianyuan. After everything was properly packed, Su Yun was ready to leave. As he approached Su Luo, he bowed his head and thought for a moment. He took out a bottle of healing pills from his bag and threw it next to Su Luo. Su Yun was not a good person, but he had his own principles. In the face of life and death, how many people in this world would still believe in their companions? Whether it was Su Jian or Su Luo, at least in his heart, he admired them. Wait a minute. Just as Su Yun was about to leave, Su Xiao suddenly shouted. Su Yun slightly slowed down his pace, but did not make a sound. Why did you help me? Su Xiao asked. Su Yun was silent for a moment. I will remember this kindness, limitless sword god. Although these words were not loud, they were very sonorous. Then you must remember these words of yours. With that, he quickly left. Soon, he disappeared without a trace. In fact, helping Su Xiao was also within Su Yun's consideration. Su Xianyuan and the others did not die, so they still had some fighting strength left. If Su Yun rashly made a move, even if he could defeat them, it would be difficult to keep them. With the help of Su Xiao and the others, it would be different. Secondly, he saw himself in Su Xiao from the past. Despair, helplessness, and a thirst for revenge. Or perhaps, Su Jian and Su Luo's trust in Su Xiao and their self-sacrifice made him admire them. Su Yun could not figure it out. Perhaps it was better not to think about it. At least he got what he wanted. Excluding the various supplies, there were a total of 211 blood jade crystals. This accounted for 20% of the total demand. It was enough to exchange for an inner sect disciple. However, this was not enough. At least, he needed another 200 crystals. Should he kill them and take the crystals? This obviously would not work. After all, he was alone. It was more like a fisherman waiting to reap the benefits. Apart from this, what else could he do? Su Yun looked towards the depths of Martial Bone Mountain. He could only collect them. Half a day later, Kacha, a blood-red crystal, was dug out by Su Yun from a large rock that was covered in moss. Su Yun was happy. I did not expect Martial Bone Mountain to have so many crystals. In less than half a day's time, I already obtained 9 crystals. He threw the crystals into his storage ring and looked around vigilantly. Then, he sneaked into the rubble and carefully lurked forward. This was the depths of Martial Bone Mountain, where the blood jade crystals were produced. However, this place was also very dangerous. Not to mention berserk beasts, if he encountered someone like Su Xianyuan, it would really be difficult to protect his life. Ta 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 ta. At this time, there was a burst of light and rapid footstep. When Su Yun heard this, he quickly crouched down and remained motionless. He saw several outer sect disciples rushing towards him. Their footsteps were rapid and they were gasping for breath. It seemed like they were running for their lives. No one noticed the people lurking nearby. Soon, this group of people left. But after a few seconds, a blood-covered inner sect disciple and several outer sect disciples chased after him. Seeing their murderous aura, Su Yun understood what was going on. However, what made Su Yun somewhat inexplicable was that these people from the inner sect did not get along with each other. Why would they help the outer sect disciples to kill other teams? After they left, Su Yun continued to lurk forward. After walking for about an incense stick of time, he encountered a fourth-stage spirit intermediate realm beast. Su Yun avoided the battle and took a detour. Along the way, he saw many corpses of the outer sect disciples. Some were eaten by the beasts and the corpses were badly mutilated. Some were plundered by others and did not have any supplies. Most of the corpses did not have any blood jade crystals. Therefore, once Su Yun saw a corpse, he would immediately change direction and look for it from another place. After 2 days, Su Yun had collected dozens of crystals. However, with the passage of time, the remaining blood jade crystals in Martial Bone Mountain had all been collected. If he wanted to collect another one, it would be very difficult. At this stage, other than killing people and taking the crystals, there was no other way. Because of the intrusion of outsiders, coupled with the excessive killing and injuries, countless sleeping beasts in Martial Bone Mountain had awakened and were active in this gloomy and terrifying mountain range. Every day, a large number of outer sect disciples died under the jaws of the beasts. The inner sect disciples were not any better. On the 7th day, 6 of them had died. No one had expected that this trial had already evolved into a survival competition where only the fittest survive. The enchantment of Martial Bone Mountain had been sealed. It could not be opened until 10 days later. Su Shilong had issued an order. Who in the inner sect dared to disobey? Su Yun wandered around the mountain for a few laps. He did not see another blood jade crystal. He could not help but sigh. He thought that he should find a place to hide and wait for the trial to end. Dong dong. At this moment, not far away, there was a sudden violent vibration. Then, a large number of trees fell down. Smoke billowed out and floated into the air. Was there a fight? Su Yun's eyes flickered. After a moment, he carefully approached the source. Chapter 51. There were no bushes to hide in, only trees. Su Yun found a tall tree and took a few strides up. Stepping on the branches, he used the dense foliage as cover and carefully approached. Soon, the scene of the explosion was reflected in his line of sight. There was a small forest, but the trees in the forest were completely flattened. 2 groups of people stood on the flat ground. Each of them pulled out their swords. Their eyes were vigilant and fiercely staring at each other. There were a few corpses on the ground. Other than the trees that were cut down, there were not many traces of fighting. It seemed that they had not started fighting yet. But looking at the situation, he was afraid that it would soon erupt. Wait. Su Yun's eyes suddenly congealed, and stared at the 2 figures in the crowd. Su Xian Yu and Su Xingyang? Su Xian Yu was wearing a simple blade master outfit. In her hand was the white embroidered sword given by Su Shilong. There was a knife wound on her right shoulder. The blood had not stopped flowing. Her wheat-colored face was as pale as paper. Su Xingyang's attire was also very simple. In his hand was a huge hammer that was very attractive. He had eaten a lot of injuries. His lower abdomen was bleeding. There were also several wounds in other places. It seemed that he had experienced several battles. Leading Su Xingyang and Su Xian Yu was a handsome man. The man was tall. His face was like a knife. He was very handsome. He was wearing a white robe. He did not have a sword. It was still on his waist. His expression was calm and very calm. Beside him stood a young man with long hair. He looked very similar to this man. This person's chi is reserve. Every movement he makes has an unfathomable aura. I'm afraid he is a spirit intermediate disciple. But hanging on his waist is obviously an outer sect disciple badge. Who is this person? Su Yun whispered. He looked at the group of people opposite him. He did not expect that the people opposite him were also acquaintances. Su Nanyi. He had changed into a black armor. In his hand was a wide and heavy sword. His eyes were filled with a strong desire to fight. However, he was not the strongest existence. The strongest person was the brown-robed man with a buzz cut in front of him. The man's hands were behind his back. He looked confident and disdainfully looked at the crowd. It was as if this group of people did not even enter his eyes. He also had the qualifications to be arrogant. Because he was an inner sect disciple. He was at least a first-stage spirit intermediate disciple. I'll only say it one last time. Hand over all the blood jade crystals on you, or else you'll end up like the trees around you. The brown-robed man snorted. What if I don't? The handsome man at the front said calmly. Not handing it over? The brown-robed man's eyes were filled with a fierce flame. Without saying a word, he made his move. Then die. As soon as he finished speaking, the brown-robed man released a powerful aura that covered his palms. His palms turned into claws, and like an eagle pouncing on its prey, he charged towards the handsome man. His first move was a fatal one. Don't look at the difference between a 10th stage spirit novice disciple and a 1st stage spirit intermediate disciple. The difference in strength could be described as heaven and earth. An inner sect disciple was at least a 1st stage spirit intermediate disciple. How could the others be his opponent? Currently, the only one who could rival it was the handsome man standing at the very front. The brown-robed man rushed over, and the man didn't hesitate. He took a step forward, and with a flick of his left hand, he drew his sword and thrust it forward. His aura was like a torrential river, dispersing into the surroundings. It was actually a left pianzi. This man's every move was much more powerful and steady than the others. When the two of them fought, how could the others just stand by and watch? Immediately, the two sides moved, and the conflict broke out. The fierce battle began, and everyone rushed to kill each other. The whole scene was chaotic. Everyone's spirit aura was like dozens of rivers converging together. It was extremely chaotic. Several 10th stage spirit novice disciple cultivators had profound skills, and their moves were gorgeous. The spirit aura was explosive and terrifying. The whole battlefield was infinitely enlarged. Brat, it's time for us to settle our debt. Su Nanyi coldly stared at Xingyang. The thick sword in his hand danced along with his movements, and chopped towards Xingyang's head. The sword's edge was wide, and no one dared to approach. Xingyang clenched his teeth. His eyebrows were incomparably heavy. The sledgehammer in his hand struggled to block the big sword. But at this moment, the profound spirit chi on the blade poured down like a waterfall. Xingyang's whole body trembled violently. Brother! Seeing this, Su Xianyu's heart burned with anxiety. She dashed towards Su Nanyi, intending to rescue Su Xingyang. But both of them were injured, and Su Nanyi was at his peak condition. Even if Xianyu attacked him, he would not be afraid. Let me show you my profound skill, heaven-splitting sword technique. Su Nanyi shouted. Suddenly, his thick and broad sword suddenly split into a sword shadow and rapidly chopped towards Su Xianyu. When had Xianyu ever seen such a strange sword technique? Her heart was shocked, and she quickly turned to the side. Su Nanyi, seeing that Xianyu was forced to retreat, immediately stopped his attack and concentrated on Xingyang. Su Nanyi only saw him chop, press, release, and shake. Although the thick sword collided with the sledgehammer, It was as if several different forces began to move along the sledgehammer and hit Xing Yang's body. Poochie! Xing Yang's trembling body suddenly stagnated. Then, he opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. The power that was resisting the thick sword also dissipated like a receding tide. Great! Su Nanye's eyes flashed a trace of light. He suddenly raised his foot and kicked towards Xing Yang's lower abdomen. Bang! Xing Yang was caught off guard. The kick landed on his body, and he was kicked back again and again. All of his defensive postures collapsed. Su Nanyi immediately jumped up, lifted the heavy sword with one hand, and fiercely chopped towards Xing Yang's head. Die! The momentum of this sword was ferocious, like a torrential flood. Xian Yu's small face was pale, and her whole body was stupefied. At this moment, no matter who it was, they would be thirsting for power, thirsting for supreme strength. Whoosh! At this critical moment, a flying sword suddenly flew from the side. It scraped against the wind, broke through the airflow, and emitted a jiu-jiu sound as it pierced towards Su Nanyi. Something strange happened. Su Nanye's eyes flashed a trace of horror. He hastily stopped his attack and raised his sword horizontally in front of him. The flying sword collided with him, and a large amount of spirit chi rippled out. Then, he turned around and flew into the air. His attack was interrupted. Su Nanyi landed on the ground, but he did not dare to attack Xing Yang again. He looked around, glanced at the people around him, and shouted, "Who is it?" However, everyone around him was desperately fighting, so who would pay attention to him? At this time, Xian rushed over, and with an embroidered sword, she went straight for Su Nanye's heart. Su Nanyi pulled out his sword to block. He only heard Xian shout to Xing Yang, "Brother, you have to go." "No. Brother Qian and the others are still here, how can I escape alone?" Xing Yang struggled to stand up, and his voice was weak. "Fool, you have been injured in the previous few battles, how can you compete with Su Nanyi, who is a peak 10th stage spirit novice disciple? Go! Go! I will block him for you." Xian Yu's eyes were overflowing with tears. But just as she finished speaking, her shoulder was hit by a sword, and then a kick. Her whole body fell to the ground, and she spat out several mouthfuls of blood. "Sister!" Xing Yang's eyes suddenly turned red. In the middle of a fight, how could he be distracted? Not to mention, Su Nanyi was considered as one of the top martial artists in the outer sect. Xian Yu's strength was not as good as his, so if she was distracted, she would be defeated even faster. "Oh, I heard that you have a good relationship with Su Yun. I underestimated him and lost to him, but this does not mean that I am weaker than him. I will definitely settle this account with him. Wait for me to kill you first, then I will kill him." Su Nanyi sneered, and his eyes overflowed with undeniable joy. He took a few steps forward, and with his big sword, he gathered his profound spirit chi. Like a roaring tiger, he was about to cut down Xing Yang and his sister. At this time, whoosh! The flying sword that had been blocked in the air once again flew towards Su Nanyi. This time, the spirit medium quickly stabbed towards Su Nanyi. "Who is this magical weapon?" "Humph, it's just a small trick." Su Nanyi obviously did not care, and then waved his hand, trying to block the strange flying sword. But the moment the big sword was about to cut, the strange flying sword suddenly moved to the side, and nimbly avoided the big sword's blade. "What?" Su Nanye's heart suddenly contracted, and before he could react, the flying sword suddenly pierced through his chest. He hastily retreated and was about to make his move when the flying sword suddenly covered Su Nanye's body with a layer of rock. This rock was like an armor, and in less than a breath's time, it covered Su Nanye's entire body, turning him into a statue. When the surrounding people saw this, they were all horrified. What kind of mystical technique was this? Qian Gu and the brown-robed inner sect disciple also saw this scene, and their hearts were shocked. They wanted to quickly escape from the battle, but this was a life-and-death battle, and they could not afford to be distracted. Voila! At this time, a dark figure quickly rushed over, stepping on the branches and directly leaping towards them. This figure was extremely agile, and it seemed that it had already locked onto Su Nanyi, and was only waiting for the right time to suddenly attack. The surrounding people did not have time to react, and the figure fell to the ground, avoiding all the swords around it, and moved towards Su Nanyi. Not good! The brown-robed inner sect disciple's face slightly changed, and urgently shouted, "Protect Nanyi!" Several outer sect disciples, who were following Su Nanyi, saw this and immediately dashed over. But it was too late. They only saw the figure fall in front of Su Nanyi, who was imprisoned into a statue, with one hand grabbing the hilt of the flying sword that had pierced through his chest, and then suddenly lifted it up, and from the chest as the starting point, it cut towards Su Nanyi's forehead, splitting his entire upper body into two halves. Gotcha! The stone shattered. Su Nanyi's body was still motionless, and he still maintained the same expression and movement before he was petrified, as if he was frozen. Hiss! At this time, blood crazily spurted out. A horrifying slit extended from the sword wound on his chest, and extended all the way to the top of his head. His brain was cut open, and he could not be more dead. His brain was also flowing out from the slit, and the scene was incomparably horrifying. The black figure grasped the flying sword, and quickly cut off Su Nanyi's right hand, and then quickly grabbed the hand and quickly fled. Hateful! The brown-robed man was furious and wanted to chase, but Qian Gu did not give him the slightest opportunity, and still desperately blocked his way. With Su Nanyi dead, the pressure on Qian Ji's side was reduced, and the situation began to tilt. Chapter 52. Because of the previous selection competition, Su Nanyi had lost to Su Yun. He had always harbored hatred in his heart. In this trial, he was afraid that he would settle the score with Su Yun. Unfortunately, he could not find Su Yun. Coincidentally, he met the Xingyang siblings, so he planned to settle the score with them. Now that Su Nanyi was dead, he believed that the Xingyang siblings would be safe. At least if they were to fight, Su Xianyu's side would have a big advantage. Su Yun ran all the way, and only stopped after running for a long distance. He did not expect that the giant rock general's spirit nucleus would be so sharp that it could even petrify a 10th stage spirit novice disciple. I just don't know if I can petrify a 1st stage spirit intermediate disciple. Maybe even if I petrify, I won't be able to maintain it for long. After all, the state of petrification could be resisted with profound spirit qi. If the profound spirit qi was dense, the effect could be ignored. Su Yun breathed a sigh of relief. He picked up Su Nanyi's right hand and removed a small storage ring from his right index finger. The reason why Su Nanyi's hand had been cut off was to obtain Su Nanyi's blood jade crystal. Of course, Su Nanyi was not like the other ordinary outer sect disciples. It was said that he had a lot of connections in the inner sect. Normally, the magical weapons he used were all provided by the inner sect disciples. Xian techniques were extremely difficult to obtain for ordinary outer sect disciples. Therefore, the outer sect disciples would not be able to obtain them. However, if they entered the inner sect, they could enter the inner sect's specialized Xian technique pavilion and unconditionally choose one. If they wanted to obtain more Xian techniques, they would have to complete a certain number of missions in the inner sect and earn contribution points. Of course, this was the way to obtain mystical skills from the Su family. Outside, it was much more convenient. One could directly head to the various auction houses to purchase mystical skills. However, the more practical mystical skills were usually priced at a staggering price, and not many people could purchase them. Su Yun opened Su Nanyi's storage ring and rummaged through it. A large number of bottles and jars of medicine and life-saving talismans. After crushing them, they could be teleported to a random location of more than 10 meters. Invisibility talisman. After crushing it, you will become invisible for a short period of time. Hemostasis talisman. After crushing it, you will stop the bleeding of your body, of course. Apart from that, there were also a few strange treasures. Su Yun did not know the use of this treasure and how to activate it, so he did not dare to touch it. If a transcendent artifact were to be operated carelessly, it would cause a backlash and harm oneself. Only by finding a professional appraiser to understand the situation would one be able to use it. Su Yun threw the treasure into his storage ring and continued to search. Blood jade crystal. Su Yun was overjoyed. Seeing the pile of red crystals in the ring, he quickly took them out. Whoosh! The blood-dew jade crystals piled up. Counting them, there were actually more than 270 pieces. In this way, he had more than 600 pieces. He was afraid that almost half of the blood jade crystals in the hands of the trial participants were in his hand. That's enough. What I need to do now is to find a safe place to hide. After 3 more days, I can leave Martial Bone Mountain. Su Yun took a deep breath and casually glanced at Su Nanye's ring. He was ready to throw it away. This ring had Su Nanye's aura, and it would be difficult to remove it in a short amount of time. If he returned to the Su family with this ring, he would certainly be questioned. Although in the Martial Bone Mountain, everyone could kill indiscriminately, but it was all done with the mentality of killing the other party. Once he returned home, he would still have to follow the Su family's rules. If Su Yun had Su Nanye's ring, he would certainly be accused of killing Su Nanye. If that happened, then he would not be able to explain himself. At this moment, a blue-covered book caught his eye. Profound skill. Many of the outer sect disciples did not even have a single mystical technique. Most of their martial power depended on their techniques and profound spirit chi. Heaven-splitting sword technique? Su Yun took out the secret book and began to flip through it. It was a very simple but exquisite sword technique. There were only a few pages of description. Using vibrations, the profound spirit chi that covered the tip of the sword would be released. The vibrations would then condense into the shape of the sword. When attacking an enemy, he only needed to control the direction of the vibrations. It was similar to releasing spirit chi, but it was more exquisite and ingenious than releasing spirit chi. Vibrations of spirit chi? This method is used on the Limitless sword arts. When the flying sword attacks, it will suddenly vibrate with spirit chi. Then it will split into 2 flying swords, one real and one fake. This will catch the enemy off guard and easily subdue them. Su Yun touched his chin as he thought. He seemed to have forgotten where he was. He pulled out the engraved dragon blade and began to test it out. The engraved dragon blade flew through the air. The spirit chi surged and wrapped around the flying sword. It began to dance in the air. Su Yun took a deep breath. According to the heaven-splitting sword technique, he began to control the spirit chi on the flying sword and tried to make it vibrate. However, as soon as he moved, the spirit chi on the engraved dragon blade immediately dissipated. The flying sword also fell from the air. It failed. Su Yun frowned. Did I use too much strength? Ta-ta. At this time, the sound of light footsteps could be heard. When the sound entered his ears, Su Yun was like a cat that had been pricked by a needle. He suddenly woke up from his intoxication. He quickly grabbed the engraved dragon blade and looked behind him. He saw a Su family outer sect disciple suddenly appear behind him. This disciple's body was tattered and bleeding. He was seriously injured and his face was extremely pale. "Save me! Big brother! Save me!" The disciple's face was filled with pain. He was gasping for breath as he ran towards Su Yun and weakly said, "Was someone chasing after him?" Su Yun's complexion changed. He hastily retreated. But this person's back was calm and tranquil. There was not even a blade of grass moving. Not to mention a person, not even a single beast could be seen. "Who was chasing after you?" Su Yun asked. "A very strong person. But I managed to escape. Big brother, my injuries are very serious. Can Can you take some medicine from your spatial ring to save me? I will definitely remember your kindness. In the future, I will repay you. Is that so? Su Yun's eyes secretly sized up this person. His gaze landed on the wounds on his body. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and asked, "What's your name? Why haven't I seen you before? Is there a person like you in the Su family outer sect?" My name is Su Denglan. Probably Big Brother has never seen me before. The person weakly said, as if he was on the verge of death. Maybe. Su Yun nodded his head. I have been cultivating all year round. I don't have much contact with people. There are a lot of people in the Su family outer sect that I have never seen. Since it's like this, then alright, I will give you some medicine to temporarily save your life. You must remember to repay me. Of course. Thank you, Big Brother. Thank you, Big Brother. The person was overjoyed and repeatedly bowed to express his gratitude. Wait, Su Yun said as he extended his hand towards the spatial ring. He seemed to be preparing to open the spatial ring. The person stared at Su Yun. A strange light flashed in his eyes. But in the next second, an extremely sharp treasured sword slashed down from the sky, slashing towards that person. Poochie! The person was caught off guard. In an instant, he was cut in half and died. A mass of black smoke flew out from the body of the person that was cut in half. It floated in the air and quickly formed a huge cloud. In the cloud, a pair of green eyes looked at Su Yun. You actually lied to me. A sharp cry came out from the cloud. Su Yun saw this thing and was secretly shocked. He quietly took a few steps back and said, "Didn't you also lie to me? It seems like you saw through my disguise. As long as it is not a 3-year-old child, anyone can see through it. The wounds on the body have already rotted. There are also traces of snakes, insects, rats, and ants. If it was a living person, how could there be these traces? More importantly, there is a fatal wound on the neck of the body. His throat was broken. How could he survive? So I guess, this body must have been possessed by the evil spirit of Marshall Bone Mountain. What kind of evil spirit are you?" Ha 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 ha. The black cloud heard this and issued a harsh laughter. Ha ha ha, boy, you are very careful. But you dare to ask this big demon's name? Die. As soon as the word die was uttered, the black smoke immediately attacked. The black smoke blew out a gust of cold wind and attacked Su Yun. Su Yun quickly dodged. He saw the cold wind hit the ground. The ground actually issued a sizzling sound. The surface of the ground was completely corroded and became full of holes. Seeing this, he was really shocked. What kind of method was this? Was this the method of a spirit intermediate disciple? Run. That was the only thought in his mind. He immediately turned around and ran like a madman. Since when did this Marshall Bone Mountain have such a strange, evil spirit? In addition, the Yu Yang siblings were fighting. Puff! The sword that was as cold as frost created a blossoming of blood. Following that, the inner sect disciple wearing brown robes fell to the ground with a loud bang, and died instantly. Who? The handsome man in front of him, Qian Gu, spat out a mouthful of foul air. His tense nerves finally relaxed. Although the inner sect disciple was killed, Qian Gu himself was not at ease. His thighs and chest were injured. Blood overflowed and dyed his white robe red. Not only that, but his profound spirit aura was also exhausted. He did not have much fighting power left. Big Brother! Behind him, a long-haired teenager rushed over and supported Qian Gu, who was on the verge of collapsing. He anxiously asked, "Big Brother, are you okay?" "I am fine, don't worry." Qian Gu weakly smiled. His sword eyes swept around. The brown-robed man and Su Nanye's remaining troops were still resisting. Without hesitation, he took a deep breath and shouted. "Everyone stop!" The shout spread throughout the area. All the people who were fighting were shocked. Qian Ji's people were the first to retreat. They avoided their opponents and retreated towards Qiangu. When Su Nanye's people saw this, they all looked at the dead inner sect disciple on the ground. Everyone's face was incomparably wonderful. In the end, they did not dare to continue fighting. Instead, they huddled together. All the experts were dead. In terms of strength, Qiangu temporarily had the absolute advantage. If he continued to fight, he could easily annihilate this group of people. However, Qiangu chose to stop fighting at this time. Everyone's eyes were thrown towards Qiangu. Qiangu took a deep breath. Because of the fierce battle, his eyes were somewhat red. After a while, he was able to speak again. Everyone, I know the reason why you are fighting with us. In the end, it is all for the blood jade crystals. In order to exchange them for contribution points, in order to obtain the qualifications to enter the inner sect. However, for such a thing, do you really think it is worth it to lose your life? When everyone heard this, they looked at each other. Qiangu gasped for breath. He took the medicine that was handed to him by the long-haired teenager and swallowed it. His complexion recovered a bit and he said, I think, you guys should leave. Today's battle did not happen. Leave Marshall Bone Mountain. These people who died, we will tell the Su family that they were killed by the beast. How about it? If you are not willing, then you can continue to fight with me. We will kill until one side is completely wiped out. I, Qiangu, have already killed the inner sect disciples. I am not afraid of adding a few more heads. After these words, everyone understood Qianji's meaning. Su Nanyi and the inner sect disciple were dead. In fact, these people could also be killed, but Qiangu obviously did not want to engage in unnecessary killing. So he took a step back and began to negotiate with these people. It must be said that Qiangu still had some considerations. Although this group of people did not have Su Nanyi and the inner sect disciple, they still had some fighting strength. If they continued to fight, Qiangu would have to sacrifice at least 2 or 3 people. Everyone did not have any hatred. At best, it was only for benefit. There was no need to fight to the death. Su Xingyang and Su Xian, you looked at Qiangu with some gratitude. The two of them and Su Nanyi had a grudge against each other. Both of them were heavily injured. If they continued to fight, it was very likely that they would die. Qianji's call to stop at this time saved their lives. Su Nanyi and the others looked at each other and whispered a few words. Finally, they decided to agree with Qianji's words. They stopped fighting, did not mention this matter, and went their separate ways. If they continued to fight, they absolutely would not be able to gain any advantage. The reason why they wanted to kill the other party was to prevent them from returning to the Su family. Since Qiangu said so, what else was there to worry about? Everyone secretly nodded and persuaded their companions to agree with Qianji's proposal. And in fact, everyone had already accepted it. Clap, clap, clap. At this time, the sound of clapping could be heard. It was especially loud on the hilltop. Qiangu, Su Nanyi, and the others quickly turned to look at the place where the sound came from. What they saw was a large group of people walking over the blood-stained scorched earth. Chapter 53. The appearance of this group of people was really surprising. Everyone looked up and saw that there were more than 50 people on the other side. They were well equipped and full of energy. Many of them were clean and seemed to have never fought before. There were many 9th grade and 10th grade cultivators in the crowd. There were even 2 inner sect disciples. When these people appeared, they surrounded Qiangu and the others. Qianji's face froze as he looked around. Finally, his eyes fell on the 2 inner sect disciples who were standing together with the outer sect disciples. He exclaimed, Su Emoli, have you been here all this time? Su Emoli, who was wearing a purple robe and had his hair combed into a long braid, nodded his head. His facial expression did not change much as he said, there was some movement here, so we came over. The 2 elders from the inner sect cast a spell at the same time and shielded our profound spirit chi, so you could not sense our presence. We have been waiting for both sides to be injured. Then we can reap the benefits. Oh, I did not expect 2 teams to join forces. However, you have so many people eating fish, can you divide it evenly? Qian Gu said. All of the blood jade crystals will belong to me. As for the others, I have already promised them benefits. When I return to the family, I will distribute them. Su Emoli said. Your family is really rich. Hee. Then what do you plan to do? Qian Gu asked weakly. Kill us all. I have no such plans for the time being. Su Emoli's gaze fell on the weapons in their hands. He lightly said, if you hand over all the blood jade crystals on your body and put down your weapons, then we can promise not to kill you. After all, we haven't hurt you yet. Even if the trial ends and you return to the Su family, you can't say anything. Hearing this, Qian Gu and the others hesitated. Indeed, the reason why they wanted to kill them was because they were worried that when they returned to the Su family, they would expose this matter to the inner sect and the main sect. Killing one's own family was not something that could be seen in the light of day. Once exposed, their reputation would be ruined. However, if it was just to snatch the blood jade crystals, it would be reasonable. If it was exposed, people would look down on him for not being skilled enough, and he would not be able to complain about it. Big brother, what should we do? If we fight with them, with our current state, we have no chance of winning. The long-haired teenager whispered to Qian Gu. Qian Gu didn't say anything and lowered his head in contemplation. I am willing to hand over the blood jade crystal to you. I only hope that you won't kill me. At this time, an outer sect disciple loudly shouted. His voice was trembling, and it was obvious that he was afraid. When Su Emoli heard this, he repeatedly nodded his head. That would be great. Qian Gu raised his head and was surprised to see the person who was willing to hand over the blood jade crystal. When he looked at the person's face, he saw that it was Suzhua, who had always been loyal to him. Suzhua, what are you doing? Qian Gu asked. Big brother, this is our only way out. What should we do if we don't hand it over? Could it be that he had to fight them head-on? With our current state, it's impossible to defeat them. Even if we aren't injured, we might not be able to defeat them. Suzhua said with a bitter smile. Qian Gu was silent. After a long time, he let out a heavy sigh. If he were to hand over the blood jade crystal, wouldn't all these days of danger and hardship be for nothing? Su Qian clenched his fists. His heart was filled with unwillingness. However, they were not as powerful as him, and the situation was difficult to control. Forget it, hand it over. Hand it over. Finally, Qian Gu compromised. Suzhua walked over and took out a dozen blood jade crystals from his waist and handed them over to Su Emoli. Su Emoli took them and looked at the crystal. Then he nodded. Very good. Then I'm fine, right? In a little more than a day, we will be able to leave this place. I don't want to die here. Suzhua breathed a sigh of relief. That's right. To die here on the last day is really regrettable. But if you leave alone now, if you encounter any natural traps or monsters, I'm afraid your life will be in danger. How about this, you follow us and we will protect you. When the time comes, we will leave together. What do you think? Su Emoli said. When Suzhua heard this, he was immediately overjoyed and quickly nodded. Great, great. After saying this, he moved to stand behind Su Emoli. However, the 2 inner sect disciples reached out and stopped him. Boy, you have to stand there. One of the inner sect disciples pointed to an empty space next to Su Emoli and said with a smile. Why? Suzhua was confused. There is no why. Even if there is a reason, I am too lazy to explain. The inner sect disciple said indifferently. Suzhua's heart was slightly angry, but he did not dare to say anything. After weighing the pros and cons, he could only walk over. When Su Emoli saw this, he shouted, Who else is willing to voluntarily hand over the blood jade crystals? I will give you the time it takes to burn a stick of incense to think about it. After the time it takes to burn a stick of incense, if anyone is not willing to hand it over, Then don't blame Su Mo Li for being ruthless. When these words fell, it was like a large bell rang. The people on Su Qian's side began to shout. I am willing to hand over the blood jade crystals. I am also willing. As long as you don't kill me, I can give them all to you. Me too. The shouts were endless. Soon, all the people on Su Qian's side changed sides and compromised with Su Mo Li. Forget it. Su Qian shook his head and sighed. He turned to the long-haired youth and said, Give them our blood jade crystals. Yes, big brother. The long-haired youth nodded and took out the blood jade crystals. All of you stand in that open space. I want to count them one by one. If anyone tries to fish in troubled waters, kill them on the spot. Su Mo Li shouted. His voice was cold and ruthless. Su Qian did not move. He stood to the side and waited. The long-haired youth took the blood jade crystals and walked over. Old sister, let's go. Xingyang gasped for breath and said weakly. But big brother, I feel that something is wrong. Why do we have to stand there? Who cares? Why don't we stand at the edge and not stick with them? I feel that there is something fishy going on. All right, I will listen to you, Su Xingyang said. At this time, an inner sect disciple besides Su Mo Li took a few steps back and disappeared into the crowd. This action was very subtle. Other people would not have noticed it, but Su Qian unexpectedly saw this inadvertent scene. His heart was suspicious. He quietly stared at the inner sect disciple who was hiding in the crowd. He saw several other disciples standing in front of him, blocking his figure. Su Qian could only see half of his face. However, at this time, he saw the inner sect disciple suddenly close his eyes. At the same time, his lips began to wriggle as if he was chanting some kind of chant. What is he doing? Su Qian's heart twitched. He felt that something was wrong. Then he heard Su Mo Li suddenly shout, Su Qian, why don't you stand over there? Why? Should I stand over there? Su Qian hesitated for a moment and asked in a low voice. There is no why. If I want you to stand over there, then hurry up and stand over there. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. Su Mo Li expressionlessly said. The blood jade crystals have already been given to you. Moreover, we can't fight against you. Logically speaking, we should be able to leave. Why are we still standing there? Su Qian secretly made a gesture to the long-haired youth, telling him to step back. At the same time, he secretly stepped back. Su Mo Li seemed to be aware of his little movement. Deep in his eyes, a hint of killing intent rose. His mouth suddenly strangely said, Since it's like this, if you don't want to stand, then don't stand. This is more or less the same. Everyone. Fog, water, and doubt shrouded their hearts. But at this moment, under the feet of the person who was standing, a burst of oppressive aura suddenly burst out. Then, the ground crazily squirmed and sharp thorns broke out from the ground. Poochie, poochie, poochie. A large number of people were pierced by the thorns and died tragically. Only the people at the edge of the ground were lucky enough to escape. Because of Su Xianyu's vigilance, the Xingyu siblings were lucky enough to escape. However, this unforeseen event had already shocked the people on Su Qian's side. Su Qian's pupils dilated several times. He was incomparably shocked. Kill them all. Don't leave a single one alive, Su Mo Li said in a low voice. In an instant, everyone on Su Mo Li's side rushed forward. One by one, they raised their swords and chopped towards Su Qian and the remaining people. Run! Su Qian did not dare to have the slightest bit of hesitation. With a loud roar, he dragged the long-haired youth and ran. The people were like frightened birds, but Su Xianyu and Su Xingyang's faces were incomparably pale. Xianyu, you go first. I will block them for you. Su Xingyang struggled to stand up. His body was trembling as he said this. Brother, we can't go. With our current state, I'm afraid none of us can escape. Su Xianyu bit her lips and whispered. Su Xingyang clenched his fists. Damn! Are we going to die here today? This group of despicable people. Obviously, they have already obtained the blood jade crystal. Why do they still want to kill us? They must be worried that we will hold a grudge. In the future, we will find an opportunity to retaliate against them. Therefore, they want to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Su Xianyu bitterly said. Whoosh! Several figures rushed over. The murderous aura surged, like water droplets splashing in all directions. Cold weapons flew towards them. The overflowing frosty aura made people's hair stand on end. Su Xingyang's tiger eyes stared at the weapons that were getting closer and closer. Su Xianyu had already closed her eyes. Voila! Suddenly, a burst of cold wind blew. Then, a sharp and resounding shout came out. Brat! See how I tear your skin and bones apart. I will lock your soul into my dark cloud space and let you suffer for eternity. Hearing this voice, Su Emoli and the others looked over. They saw a person in Blade Master clothes madly rushing over. This person was not wearing a mask. Everyone immediately recognized him. Su Yun. Brother Su Yun. Su Xingyang and Su Xianyu immediately shouted. Brother Su Yun, quickly run. Su Emoli wants to kill us. They have a lot of people. Quickly run. Su Xianyu anxiously shouted. However, Su Yun did not seem to hear her voice. He was still running as if he was flying. He was sweating profusely as he rushed towards Su Emoli. Thus, people saw the terrifying and huge black cloud behind him. This is... An inner sect disciple saw the black cloud. Suddenly, his face turned pale. He was extremely shocked. This is a spirit-soul disciple realm evil creature, silent evil spirit? Silent evil spirit? The evil creature that was released after the death of a strong martial artist? No. Wasn't this thing extremely difficult to form? How could it appear in Martial Bone Mountain? The previous patriarchs were very strong. They were all buried in Martial Bone Mountain. After they died, they released the dark spiritual energy. This must be the source of the formation of this thing. Everyone jumped in fright. Their backs were cold and their legs were shaking. The two inner sect disciples and Su Emoli recovered. The three of them quickly turned around and madly ran. Go! Su Yun ran. When he passed by Su Xingyang and Su Xianyu, he whispered. The two did not dare to hesitate. They quickly got up and staggered as they ran. Seeing this vast evil creature rushing towards them, the 50 people were like headless flies. They fled in all directions. The scene instantly became chaotic. Everyone ran for their lives. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.